Today is Friday, June 13th, 2025 at 9:24 a.m. And got roll call. Can I do the roll call? Okay. Diana Cuddy, aye.
Here.
Linda Curley. Be absent. Cheryl Lee Francis. Be absent. Myself.
She'll be late.
Oh, okay. Myself, Darren Lance here. Mariah Zavala.
Here.
Kimberly Hosky.
Here.
Luana. Loma.
Loma
Ombaya.
She says it like it's so easy. Only because she's been doing it all her life. Beautiful. Here.
Thank you. Carol Marks here.
Sounds like a poem. It does.
Marion Marshall. Next, we'll move on to the land acknowledgement. Somebody like to volunteer for the land acknowledgement, please?
The Flagstaff City Council humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and the future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Hosky for reading that. Next is going to be public comment. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject within their jurisdiction that is not scheduled before the commission on that day. Due to open meeting laws, the commission cannot discuss or act on items presented during this portion of the agenda. To address the commission on an item that is on the agenda, please wait for the chair to call for public comment at this time. At the time the item is heard. Maximum 3 minutes per individual. Everybody can see if there's any public comment.
There's nobody
Okay,
online.
got it. Got nobody for public comment. Next is going to be the approval of minutes. We'll need a couple motions. Approval of March 19th, 2025 special meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
First motion by Commissioner Zavala. Do we got a second? Commissioner Moore. Seconds. And we and to vote, we all vote on approval of minutes. Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? You. All right, we got one more approval of minutes on April 3rd, 2025. Need a first motion to approve? And motion. Commissioner Marks, first motion. Do we got a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Zavala. Second motion. Got to approve the minutes. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. So we'll move on to general business. Event planning update, Indigenous Code Talker celebration. Commissioner Zavala and the planning team will provide an overall update on what has occurred and what is still in queue to research and plan.
Good morning. We're hoping that in this section with the commissioners here, we can dial in the location of the venue. The members on the working group are still collecting information on cultural shares and knowledge holders, along with I myself am still waiting on answers from sponsors so we can have breakfast and lunch the day of. So I would love to open it up for discussion after I give the updates on the venue location. Before I do that, Miss Rose, were you able to get any additional information on the Market of Dreams?
Yes, I finally talked to Kim yesterday. She was on her way to Phoenix, but she said we would fit into the tier one rentals, which is organizations, agencies, or individuals that have a direct and mutual beneficial relationship with Sunnyside Neighborhood Association. So since we are under the city, that would be what we are. And she quoted me $37 an hour,
Okay.
and on here it says 35. So it's just a couple dollars more in case they change their rates or something. So I would anticipate it being under 300 for the cost
Okay.
and $50 refundable changing clean fee.
And we did confirm that the event will be held from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., which means setup will begin around 7:45 a.m. From 7:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. and breakdown will be between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. So the day will be blocked off from, we'll say 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., which puts us at a 7-hour day and at 37 an hour.
So we might as well just do the whole day. and
Yeah,
just
the whole
pay-
day,
Yeah,
8 hours.
and just pay them the full amount.
Okay,
Because it's whatever we charge, even if we do 7, it's still gonna be close to the daily rate.
perfect.
What was the daily rate?
It is the,
Well, on here it says 225.
okay. And the working group was pretty enthusiastic that this would be our first choice because of the location. There's a lot of pictures and videos. If you go to the website or Dr. Coral Evans, former Mayor Coral Evans, has a lot of really good videos as well to get a feel for the look. So I don't think we have to do a walkthrough prior. We all have a pretty good idea on what the setup is, but we did look at other options. I received word back from the Murdoch Center, which was a close second, that because of funding, they can no longer offer the space free of charge to local organizations like ourselves. So it is about 90 an hour. And so for a full day would be pretty costly. We entertain like Hal Jensen, the Aquaplex, which is always zero cost, but in the name of community and the Market of Dreams being redone and just the space and plus parking, the location, it just made sense for us to go that direction. So unless anybody would like to hear more on the other locations that we had discussed, we had up to 9. I would love to get like a resounding vote or applause, enthusiasm, whatever, to agree to the Market of Dreams. I think it's a great rate. I think it's an excellent space, and a wonderful opportunity for us to connect with our community. It's in a great central location in Sunnyside where we know a lot of Indigenous community members will be, active community members, and is in walking distance.
And I think the bus stops are pretty close to.
Yes, the bus stops are pretty close, which is awesome, and people can bike over there. Yeah, I think it makes the most sense for us.
And it is newly established, right? So this would, and
Yes, I apologize. Thank you so much, Commissioner Juana. The facility was remodeled. They've been working on it for almost a year now.
At least, yeah.
At least a year. And it can hold up to 100, and I have the number on here. 100, yep, it seated 112, standing room 36, so it can fit about 140 people. And they reached out again to, I think, if they could probably squeeze in another 10 to 15, so up to 150 people can fit in there. And if we are proactive in engagement and marketing this year, I do think we can meet, maybe even exceed that threshold this summer.
Commissioner, may I add to that? Site was just there.
Yes.
Just to paint a picture, when you go in, there's on the left-hand side, there's like a multi-shop that different artisan, craftsmen, sell items. And then there's this huge open space that's just a blank canvas for, putting up a projector screen if we're going to do that, and the chairs and stuff. So it's very spacious and open in that whole section. And I think it just would be a great opportunity for the committee to, go in and just kind of put its own flair on it. But it also has, this stuff on the left-hand side that have local craftsmen, handcrafted items, jewelry, fans, food, just different stuff. So
Does it have like a small, low-level stage too?
I think it does. Yeah. In the front. Yeah. Yeah.
In the pictures.
Yeah. My only concern would be the parking outside because it's kind of nestled right where Fratelli's is and some local shops, but I think everybody could find parking that's gonna drive,
Yeah,
but
and
it
there's
won't
a
be as
cross.
easy as Aquaplex, but I think there's still plenty to accommodate whoever's gonna come.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk to other owners or see around, because they can wrap around. I mean, the worst, and up for discussion for people who have been in that area, is there's that Fratelli's parking lot. You can go all the way down by Satchmo's, and then if you wanted to wrap around, there's all that parking there by White Dove and Cut.
Yeah.
So it would just be a small
And
block.
across the street over at the,
At Cal Ranch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cal
and the
Ranch.
UPS store, there's parking there as
Yeah.
well. And right there across the street in that dirt lot by the sewing place.
Gardens, yeah.
Don't wanna
Yeah.
probably encourage that because then somebody gets.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, I was gonna
Let them
say, I
figure
don't
that
think
out.
we'd wanna
Don't
encourage
tell
that
them
one.
that.
That's where the lady sells the burritos.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Ah.
Really?
I really,
Yeah, they're real good.
are they?
Is there a trailer?
Check them
They're
out.
the best. Potato and ground beef,
Is it-
chili ones, yeah, they're
Is it tortilla?
so good. It's all handmade, yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh.
Thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay, if anybody, so Market of Dreams has been around for a while. It's just been lately, they've grown, yeah. And they've got the new location. And if anybody wants to know, it's where the old Redwood, I think was, used to be on 4th Street. It was they call it a bar dance place.
Yeah, that looks like, now that you say a dance place, I was gonna describe it as, it looks like a big dance floor. with a little Stage, yeah.
Is your disco ball still in the? Just from pictures.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and put down on our agenda that is everybody comfortable with the Market of Dreams then? Yes, Commissioner Udine?
How many people are we anticipating for to feed?
To feed, I think right now we're guessing 100, but if the place can fit up to 150 people, we might want to prep to feed that many. Or we could stick with 100 because first come, first serve, people will be filtering throughout the day. Yeah.
102. I think in the past few years that we've had it, it's grown like from I guess 80 to maybe 120-ish.
Yeah, last year we seemed like we had more too. But the reason I'm asking is, it's where a lot of our relatives that don't have a place to go, they're around there and they see that there's a lot of Native people there and there's a event. They'll want to come and eat. I mean, that's just kind of what happens.
Yeah.
They want it. So are we gonna have enough for them or should we have like a sack lunch?
Oh, I see. For like unsheltered relatives?
Like party
Yeah.
with Naga or something.
Something, that we can just give to them because they're not really there for the event itself. Maybe they'll hang out for a little bit, but they're there to want to eat because then they know we're gonna have food there.
Yeah. I love the concern and we will be providing food already and I'm glad we're discussing like the number of people. What I'm apprehensive of doing a sack lunch is like making them feel left out, like since you are an unsheltered relative, you're not gonna get this nice food that's
Well,
laid out,
no,
you're gonna get
no,
a sack
what I'm
lunch
saying,
instead.
maybe I should have said this. No, from what you said, first come, first serve. You know, if they want to stand in line, fine, you know,
I
but
see.
afterwards, you know, there'll be other
Overflow.
people that need.
Oh,
to-
filtering through, okay.
Yeah, so, they'll understand that we don't have any more food that, you know, but you could have, something for them. I'm just throwing it out there.
I
That's
think
kind of.
it's a good thought.
Commissioner Marks?
If you let the food center or the food
Yeah.
bank across, know in advance, they can prepare some of those those sack lunches.
Okay.
Because they hand those out every day.
Yeah, and if you
Yeah.
put in an order saying.
And
what
every
you're-
now and then, I think the library does the same thing.
The library doesn't do any.
Yeah, they moved that location. So I would like clarification if we're talking about doing a food distribution or having the
Just such.
food center. Okay, cool.
Just lunches that the food center puts out,
Okay. So,
right?
Yeah,
mhm.
you just have the sack lunches.
Are we doing
available.
catered? People
And
want
that's what I was gonna ask next, because I'm in charge of finding sponsors. We're looking for someone to sponsor and pay for like a meal like we did last year with Artisan's Kitchen for up to 100 people, which will be delivered or picked up or whatever. And then we want to have a separate area of like up to 50 sack lunches for when that food runs out and people will come in after.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that what
Put
the-
it away and then when we run out. Here.
Okay.
Priority would be for our children relatives.
Okay,
If
so
they show
yeah,
up.
breakfast and lunch to feed, breakfast and lunch from whoever to feed up to 100 people. And then reach out to Flag Family Food Center for 50 sack lunches.
So last year, somebody sponsored and care of all that.
Yes,
So it's-
I acquired
Yeah,
the
it was-
sponsors and I coordinated it.
So
Let it spread.
nothing had to be paid for. They provided whoever you
Yeah,
got to sponsor.
mhm, yeah, the only thing we needed to do was like go pick it up last year. So that's why I'm asking for clarity, because I've already got the letters out and stuff and just want to make sure I'm on the same page. Let me get another
What
pen.
day is that gonna be on?
August 11th,
The
from-
Monday.
a Monday, yep. Mhm.
I apologize, I have to run. I may try to come back before this is over, but
Thank you, Councilwoman, for being here. I appreciate it,
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
did I know, you all have a great weekend. I do want to get an update on the agenda item on the land acknowledgement.
Mhm.
It's on the agenda.
I
Oh,
think it's
yes,
numbered, yeah,
okay,
awesome.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Cool, because I can get with Flag Family Food Center. I've done some work with their coordinator and we could probably easily get those 50. I just want to make sure I have the numbers right. Because last year I had to, with Artisan's Kitchen, I think we had like a specific budget and I was able to make them like really wiggle and get in there and get creative with like cutting sandwiches in half or something like that to meet that budget. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. 100 for breakfast and lunch, 50 sack lunches. Yes,
So if we do get the snack lunches, then do we have a place like to store them?
I was just gonna ask the same thing. I've only seen one small fridge at the Market of Dreams, like I'm going through my head, so. And I was gonna ask earlier too, if anybody really wanted to see the space, we could still do a walkthrough, even though it's like, I think everyone's pretty comfortable with what we've seen online, but I don't think they have industrial fridges. And so we would need to bring coolers or something like that to keep the lunches in. I've only seen one small fridge there, remaining there.
I think
Or do
from the
they?
last time I met with them, they said they have a community kitchen. And part of having a community kitchen is having much larger, like, market tree,
Oh, okay.
so.
So then I'll just double check and then update. We'll go from there. And so if there's no fridge, we'll just like bring coolers or something like that and store them there.
There like a sound system or anything like that there? Because with so much people, gonna need some kind of like,
I believe so, yes. They do have a stage. The venue is meant to be like for community workshops, events like this, but they can also throw like quinceañeras together and stuff like that too. So I think so, but That's a great question. So,
Well, I just bought a finished speaker.
okay,
Like,
awesome. So I'll check in about the PA system. We'll check in about the fridge.
I am.
Karaoke.
Oh, karaoke?
This is.
Yeah.
Really, that speaker is like,
That's awesome.
DJ too.
I'm gonna be DJ.
Yeah.
Yay. I love it. This is awesome. I'm so glad everybody brought this up. Okay, and then let me go through. Okay, so,
So I don't need to
Estimated
borrow
attendance.
stuff from you anymore, Mariah.
yay, that means I don't have to borrow stuff from Chamber either. Okay, perfect. So we're settled on Market of Dreams. We're gonna do 150 in total, the 100 from the sponsored catered meals. We'll work with FFC to get those 50 sack lunches. PA system and fridge we'll follow up on. We've got food here.
Should we do more for the catered, a little higher number because conversation was that we've had like 120 people in the past,
Okay.
so maybe 125 instead of just 100 for the catered.
Okay.
Will that work?
Yeah, I mean, we can,
We can ask for it, but
Yeah,
we'll see
yeah.
what we can.
so it'll
Yeah,
be
that's fine.
determined at the end of the day by the sponsors, but yeah, 125. And if anybody has any ideas, what we put down in the agenda recently, last year we ordered from Artisan's Kitchen. Yes?
So whatever we ask for, and they say we can only do whatever, like 100, then ask them to do more so that I can pay for the rest.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, the budget we have set compared to, based on last year's number was 1,200 for lunch and 1,200 for breakfast. So it was about a $2,400 budget for food last year.
And
Do
that's
we
all-
think it'll be
And
more?
that was all donated.
Yeah. Do we think it'll be more? Cause I'm happy to adjust those numbers if we want to move to 125. It sounds like we'll be leaning closer to probably like $3,000 in food. And does that work with your budget, Rose,
Not
or?
paid for, no.
Okay,
But what I'm saying is that let's say the sponsor is willing to donate 100 cents, whatever, 100 of something. And then we ask for 125, and so there's 25 that we still need to pay.
okay,
So Rose, stay for the
I can
fridge.
pay for the extra 25.
okay, perfect. And none of the food was donated. I worked with Mayan Winds and with Artists Kitchens we did. And then we had Desert Financial pay Artisans $1,200. And then Arizona Complete Health paid Mayan Winds $1,200
So it's
for the food.
donated.
Yeah, it was
It was paid donated.
Sponsored.
It was sponsored, yeah. hmm Yeah, because we had discussed donations with some smaller businesses, but it's a pretty big ask, especially
It
with
is.
inflation and everything. So sponsors, for sure, is where we are. Cool. And then I was just gonna follow up with Mayan Winds and Artisan's Kitchen again, just because they worked with us last year. Artisan's Kitchen, I think, gave us like a 20% discount, honestly, to fit into that budget, which was awesome. And Mayan Winds was just able to do it really quickly, and Coconino County Supervisor, Canonical, and all the good things. If there's anywhere else you guys are interested in us entertaining, I'm very happy to list those and get numbers from anywhere else.
No, I like the idea of using Maryland. It's right there. It's local to the community. It's,
Yep.
Central. To,
I think
yeah.
I guess the only thing I would like is that if someone is paying that much amount of money for actual baked goods and not bought from somewhere else, that's the final.
Yeah, me too. I'll make sure to get clarity on that this year. That was, I wasn't informed about that until after the event, unfortunately. But I mean, I know we were all excited food was there, so.
Yeah.
I'll be sure, I'm really excited that local is our priority and making sure it is locally sourced too. So I'll check that the letters are out. We're just waiting on responses, but I feel confident that we can get that covered from local spots in town. And if you guys think of anybody who would like to be part of it, we can happily break up that $3,000 budget across a few businesses. Yes,
We're just talking about the lady across the street with her.
Honestly.
Breakfast right there, breakfast burrito.
Yeah.
Burritos are like $6.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah.
She just did, like last week, she goes to our church. So
Oh.
she,
What is her name? Do you know her name?
I got it on my Zelle.
I feel that.
You know, I know like last weekend they had a powwow, like a one-day powwow at NEU.
Uh-huh.
And she supplied like the breakfast burritos for
Wow.
that. So she made a big order. So
That's
you can do
awesome.
So
big
she,
orders.
okay, so
Yeah.
maybe that's something. we can-
I'm so happy you mentioned that because I would
She-
be really interested in supporting like a solopreneur. And it's just, my concern is do we have to be concerned if they're not like
She has.
food cards?
She has.
Okay, she has all this stuff.
Cards. They have.
Otherwise, they shut her
Do
down.
it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, so
No,
she's like,
they're fully like.
we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I'd be really
Perfect.
so down to check that out. And we could maybe get the burritos from her and coffee from Mayan Winds or from
Yeah,
someone
like-
else. There are, and maybe we could open it up. I mean, there's a lot of Indigenous entrepreneurs around. There's Jinjay, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I'm so sorry. Jinjay Coffee. It's a Navajo coffee company, Navajo owned. And yeah, I said it wrong. I mean, I'm like, I don't know why I left this. We were just in my school.
We don't like that.
How do you pronounce it?
Jinjẹ.
Jinjẹ.
It means,
It's the all
it's the
night
name, it's the name of the ceremony, yeah.
until the next one. He
And then-
explained it to me,
And
so.
then Daryl's gonna start the one that says second night.
I could do that, maybe third.
Or for easy logistics planning, we could just have Mayan Winds do coffee, and we could get the burritos.
I think that excuse me,
Just
I
need your
didn't mean to
info.
interrupt. Having a simple breakfast like that will be good, just coffee and burrito, you know, cause
I like that.
it's wasting a lot of time to what the event
Yeah,
is
like,
about.
I see.
Yeah. So
Like
let's
you're
just,
serving things.
yeah.
Fruit.
that everybody,
Yeah.
yeah, then everyone wants to visit afterward, you know, so.
I
we're
love
there
that.
To celebrate, you know, this particular event, so just something simple like that, because then we can spend more time, we'll be having more time with the lunch, because everybody's gonna be in line for that too. you know,
Awesome.
so.
Yes, Commissioner Marks.
So two things, on the Market of Dreams website, one of their pictures that they have does have that large refrigerator,
Oh, sweet. Yay.
industrial refrigerator, and then also on their website, they have a food truck incubator network, and so there's a list of different food trucks that are connected to them. So if to Market of Dreams, so if the one vendor doesn't work out, you can talk with them to see who else they have, because there's a long list.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's lots of options. I just really wanted to rely on the group if there was anybody in particular they felt inclined to, who is like really community oriented or has done things with us or anything like that, and then default to any of the other lists. Commissioner Hosky?
It's slightly off topic, but can we go through the pictures of the website really quick? Because I don't have my phone and I can't look it up.
Here,
Here,
here.
that would be good. Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what it looks like.
Keep telling her, you can not on my phone, just to feel better.
It's my security blanket.
Darren, you have your phone number, do you have your cell phone?
Can you elaborate on the ginger?
On the
Um,
ginger? Oh, yeah, so, the gentleman who owns it, he has like a little carreta, a little cart or booth where he can do specialty drinks, but he can also just brew coffee too in bulk. So, I can find out if he could either donate or we can purchase from him and what that cost is. I just thought of him because he attended the Indigenous Health Fair I coordinated last year, and he's involved with Change Labs, and it's just a small local solopreneur. I thought that was really cool.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Navajo tea shine.
Ooh, yeah, he does like a Navajo tea drink and all that. And he, if he wanted to, I don't know if he
Indigenous tea.
Yeah. Where I feel conflicted is because Mine Wings is right next door and the coffee's right there. So to bring another coffee company, instead of supporting our local, immediate local, right there at Fourth Ave is, where I have a hard time.
If he or she can do both, why not? You know, I don't know if
It's
they
a
have
nice
any
space.
access to the tea itself, but, I mean, that's just, you know.
If they can, like, you mean if they could do Navajo tea on coffee?
Well, we can always reserve ginger coffee for Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Okay, sweet. I like that. So I'll reach out to Mayan Winds about either donation or cost for the coffee. We're gonna do burritos from our local burrito lady, which is exciting. And we'll stick with Artisan's Kitchen and get a quote there for cost.
There's coffee. It's not ginger.
It's not, it's kickstand, but still local, still local. If anybody wants
All their
coffee.
brothers go to get their coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know my.
Yeah, I went to Kickstand because all the other local shops, they don't do day of boxes like that. They were referring me over to Starbucks. I was like, how rude, I could never. So I went to Kickstand and they were able to whip it up for me. Kickstand and White Dove. White Dove will do it morning of too. Late for the Train could not do it and Fire Creek couldn't do it, but Kickstand could morning up within 30 minutes or 20 actually. They were pretty fast. They keep it local. Sweet. How do we feel about food and sponsors and food number? We're gonna go with 125 to cater and 50 sack lunches. Anticipating 175. And as the event gets closer, we'll talk about it then, or the day of. But I would like to have a plan in place for if that many people don't show up and what we do with the food, where we take it. To Commissioner Mark's house.
See the smile there.
Yeah.
To community assistance teams at Flagstaff, we could always set something up for.
Okay, perfect. Because I know sometimes the day of logistics can get funky in different locations and drop-offs. I think having a clear plan in place would be helpful to just, when we tidy up and ship it off.
Is it 125 like breakfast? And then 125 for lunch?
Yes.
It is, so.
Yeah, so we'll get enough food, 125 for breakfast and 125 for lunch.
Do we want to do like 100 for breakfast and like 125 for lunch?
Yeah.
Good? That sounds good.
Because it feels like maybe early on in the morning, there will be less people there, so
I like it.
there may be more people showing up later.
Yeah, and since we'll be doing the burritos, we do need a specific number like
And I
that.
can always add some like fruits or something like that, like
Yeah.
apples, like whole fruits, like apple, oranges.
Sweet.
Or bananas.
Okay,
People will
make that
have
note
lunch,
here.
Breakfast before they go
Yes.
there too.
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
I've never had that, so I don't.
Yeah.
So this is,
That's basic six percent.
Okay.
Table.
I usually just drive over to the food bank area and
Breakfast,
just head down. Yeah, because that's where all the.
100, Mine Wins
By the
coffee.
Yeah, they're walking to them and then they're walking back or stuff, so.
Yeah, and
might
that
have
should give
anything
really
extra, I'll
enough
just go
time to
there.
plan if we
Yeah.
were to reserve out.
Yeah. you-
I love that. That's awesome. Maybe we can get a video.
Thinking of her.
Thank you.
Just quick.
That helps.
Yeah.
I want to keep her in my circle too for other events. Local burritos,
Right.
100.
Like that much.
And Rose drinks and things like that, Artisan's Kitchen, they included drinks. We're gonna reach out to Mayan Winds for coffee, the local burrito lady for 100 burritos, waters and other things to be posted up throughout the day. Is that something the city will?
yeah, I
Have
can do
Okay.
the extra stuff like
All right.
the water, maybe some juices. And sparkling water or something like that.
Perfect.
Other beverage.
The small oranges are always good.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good.
Those are really easy to peel and, yeah.
They're easy to peel.
I take them on my hikes and so it's easy to peel.
Maybe those will look fun.
Okay,
Yeah, no
awesome,
I don't even peel.
awesome. Love it. Okay. We feel good about food?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it now.
I know, I'm hungry. Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Marks, Moana, Husky, Kudiai, and Lance, Ms. Tohi. This is so awesome and exactly why we reserved time for this. And the next section is speakers and program. I, right now, do not have any updates on potential cultural shareholders, cultural shares or knowledge holders, except for one group, Amy and Cooper. They are hoop dancers coming from Mesa. They, excuse me, they participated in the Sacred Mountain Prayer Run on Saturday. So I just need details from them if they're available or not, and what the cost is. But that's the extent of updates I have for that section. And if anybody else from the working group has other updates, feel free to share, please.
Oh, thank you. Can we, do you know the, some of the groups that perform out, during the Hopi market? No. Really? Because they have some awesome, they have some awesome dances, dancers, groups. I asked the person from the Hopi Economic Development, because I think one of the person there is in charge of contacting them. And, she wasn't very forthcoming on
Okay.
sharing some name. Who was this? I don't remember her name, but, I called her and I said, can you see if you can send me some names on some of the groups, because we're doing our events and stuff.
Yeah, I can look into the information. I know when we had Miguel Vasquez's celebration of life last year, there was a group that was there. So I can ask from Marina for that information for that group.
That'd be
They
great.
did a nice performance.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, and so for that contact, it'll be through NACA, for Amy and Cooper, the hoop dancers I mentioned, who are also, by the way, 8 years old and 11 years old. And
Yeah.
really amazing. It was beautiful. I have videos if anybody wants to see. They went so hard and it was awesome. But Jordan Makta there over at NACA, he has his own youth group as well of Hopi dancers. And they never ask for money or anything. The kids are just excited to come out and dance.
Let's go with those
But
guys.
but I would say, I think it would be appropriate to donate or give them something
Yeah.
for their time. But they've been able to like commit within like 2 or 3 weeks of an
Okay.
event. So I can double check on that group. I just wanted to see if that felt good.
We've used them, like, I think our very first.
Yeah,
The very first one.
Yeah, I want to look into also some more traditional
Yeah.
groups. It's like
that's what I was
dancing,
thinking.
absolutely something that's like traditional. It's more of a contemporary thing.
Yeah.
So.
Is Jordan's group or his youth group hoop dancers too?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'll look into their group and I'll follow up with
Yeah.
them and see
What
what.
about, since you're with NAU, what about, those dancers that performed during the Indigenous convocation?
I wasn't at the congregation. I was volunteering at the event after.
Well, I share it.
So
Yeah.
I can reach out to Sharon or Andrea and ask.
They did really, they're an NAU,
Right now.
they're the NAU,
Are they students?
Yeah.
Powell. Oh, what was that, Daryl?
Jam.
Powell Jam.
Oh, yes, it was like, wow, that's a cool name.
Yeah. I bet they'd be willing to do something, either event.
Okay, I can reach out to Andrea and Sharon.
Probably more Indigenous Peoples' Day, I think.
Yeah, I think that would be.
My, this is just my thought, and I don't want to have it take over anything, but just when we've been doing Code Talkers Day and kind of really more on the Navajo side. So what I wanted to do was just really concentrate on the Hopi side this time.
Okay.
So anyway, if that's okay with everybody, then we can do that.
Yeah, there were other nations that were involved with all that, you know, we just had the percentage up there, we were the first ones, you know, but still, there were other nations that were asked and they all went in because they had that moving display from the Smithsonian up at Fort Cottontail when I volunteered there, and they had all this information and history of it, you know, so Kiowas, Comanches, you know, just Arapahoes, you know, they all, I mean, there were not that many, but they were part of that too. So
Yeah.
I always try to, I think it's a good idea to just
Yeah.
say that, you know, that there were others.
And that, yeah, and that's what we've done is that we, to be inclusive, we said Indigenous
Mhm.
Code Talkers Day, or not day, but a celebration.
So Power Jam said that they could make themselves available for either one.
Oh,
And I was gonna ask.
Powwow Jam or Jam?
Jam.
Jam?
Powwow
Okay.
Jam.
If it's appropriate for this event during the time, is that, it's not within ceremony? Okay,
This is in August, should be fine.
okay, so reaching out, there's
Yeah, it should be.
a student group over at Flag High and a student group over at Coco, just waiting to get a response.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, well, since we got so many options,
Any-
do we want
anything-
to rank them?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
All right, so I've got, we'll do Amy and Cooper, the hoop dancers last, because we really want to prioritize traditional, which is awesome. It sounds like Powwow Jam would be our first option?
For
Or-
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Oh, that's Indigenous Peoples' Day. Okay,
maybe the second for the Code Talkers Day. Just
okay. Oh, because they're available both days, right?
Mhm.
I'll number this in a minute. Okay, so they're available Indigenous Peoples' Day and for Indigenous Code Talkers Day. And you said there's a group with Flag High
Excuse me.
and a
There's
group with
students-
Coco?
There's students from the school.
That's where,
The jam.
that's where people work.
There are students at both schools that have
Okay.
groups within their own communities.
Okay,
So
okay. So, I'll just label them as Flag High students and then not Flag High, Coco High students. So then the question is, do we want to prioritize having like a youth group versus a non-youth group? Depending on the answers we get. I think, yeah.
Yeah, you get them more involved, you know, we're always recruiting, so.
Yeah.
That's good recruitment there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Awesome.
And they do want to be part of something, you
Mhm,
know,
they
they just
do.
don't know where to go a lot of times, even though we are around, but you know, for their skills and talent, you know, we need to use that.
And plus they're also learning how to speak publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be our, you know,
Playing enough for leadership.
yeah.
Okay, let me put this in a separate section then, and I'll have it listed.
Which is why I'm looking forward to Ashlyn's speech tomorrow.
Yay. Oh, and since, so we have options, we're gonna find out, we've got them ranked. What's the deadline we want to give the groups on if they can attend or not? I feel like that'll help kind of weed out, because then we'll want it on the agenda.
Yeah, give them the date of when that event will take place and the time frame and where, you know, all that. And then they can talk to other people, because maybe one may not be available or whatever, as they have time to get somebody else.
We have a deadline for the agenda.
Yes, I got it right here. Thank you, Ms. Rose. I'm so sorry. Let me reframe that. The final agenda has to be completed by July 21st, so we need to know.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
21st. We have this deadline for that too.
So we'll give everybody till the 21st, or do we want to do earlier? Because we're all going to be sharing on our own social and such, what's going on, and we can share that kind of information. Or are we comfortable with that? I think that sounds good.
I think it depends on how fast, if we wait till like, let's say the 20th for people to get back with us. It depends on how long a person can get a flyer, an agenda together.
Yeah,
So do we wanna do like
July 11th? July 18th?
Maybe a week
maybe the
before.
14th?
Okay, July 14th. Let me make a note.
That's a week before the 21st.
Okay. Cultural shares and knowledge
And that would also go for the speakers.
confirmed by, perfect. Knowledge holders and speakers. Confirmed by July 14th.
I have some breakfast thingies over there. If you want to just munch on that.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Okay, July 14th. That's awesome.
Figure that's-
I love these deadlines. This is a great.
Little package.
Okay, so I think, do,
Way up.
do we feel comfortable with this section or anything else we want to touch on for, cultural shares, knowledge holders, before we move into like speakers? Sweet. Okay, cool. We'll go to speakers. I do not have anything lined up. This area is pretty unfamiliar for me. I don't have a lot of contacts outside of Yellow Hair, who's down in Buckeye now, so. And I think Alfred, but Alfred, I want to say he did one of our events already. Alfred
Yeah.
Loma.
There's
Yeah. Mhm.
there's another person who did a really great presentation. I just don't remember his name, but he's on the very first agenda, I believe. I can't find it.
Ooh.
Is this actually having a talker present and having them speak, or somebody that's got
Yeah, that
information
would
about the
be-
code talk?
Yeah, or is a
There-
veteran. I think one of those three would be great. I
Or a family member.
don't know
A
anybody.
lot of our co-talkers are
Yeah.
not, or have passed.
Mhm.
I think there's one or two.
There's one or two left. And that's on the Navajo side.
Mhm.
Hopefully there's none.
There's none.
Yeah.
I can see me in their 90s.
Sweet families.
Are we talking about speakers or?
Speakers, speakers.
Is there any particular person we to ask or just ask one of them when they're there? Or like the blessing for the beginning, you know, prayer or something.
Yeah, we're gonna move to that.
Oh.
Speakers right now.
Oh,
Do we need an MC?
Yes.
Cause I was gonna, this is just
You can be the
an
MC.
idea.
Yeah.
Oh, no. One of my grandmothers, her name is Jennifer Joseph. She's the artist, does a lot of frequency, designs and like apparel. She was the MC for a long time at the Museum of Northern Arizona Movie Show. For years, she would be the MC for the performances there. So that's just an idea because she has that experience to do that. But just an idea.
No, that's awesome.
So what we would need is like, do they need lodging? Do they require a fee? Those kinds of things.
Rose, you didn't ask me that for Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Because we've only
I'm
told
gonna say-
you.
So she would need lodging at the home.
Okay. Sweet.
Maybe a small fee, but she doesn't charge, it's not something like she does like professionally, she's just been like, I don't know how, I mean, I asked her how much they paid her in the past, but
Yeah.
she just kind of was that person for Hopi Show for years.
That's awesome.
Jennifer Joseph,
Yeah.
Her
I got it here
father-
on the agenda.
her father, my great grandfather, was also a World War II veteran. World War II and Korean War veteran. Harold?
Yeah.
Or Daryl.
Oh, Daryl.
There's Daryl and then there's,
Oh, yeah, we're all from the same family.
So there's a Daryl and a Harold?
Yeah,
Oh.
Harold, I think, is Daryl's father.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're all from the same family. I think Daryl's grandfather and my great grandfather were brothers.
She,
Yeah, so we're all kind of related.
Perfect. I've got that note down, so you'll just reach out to Miss Joseph.
I can reach
See if
out to
they're
her.
cool.
Yeah, and then just send me the.
Yes.
And to double check, since the Indigenous Commission is part of it, is there anybody from the group who would like to MC it
Yeah.
or be?
Yeah.
Anybody would like to be involved?
Well,
I know.
would be great. At that.
For the code talker day?
Yeah.
Well,
August
I can-
11th.
I can always volunteer our ambassadors from either of the schools.
Your son would be good too. Yeah, he's really good.
And I'll be a placeholder until I find something better.
He's always being told, well and told too.
Yeah. Yeah, I did voluntold Machias. Did I tell you when I saw him? I meant to text you. Somebody decided they didn't want to wake up before the sunrise that day. Very special sacred day.
You
I-
left with the vehicle. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Run over there?
He was like, my dad just didn't want to be a good Navajo today. It's like, wow, that's
Oh,
hard. I did. I voluntold him at the 5K start line. I go, we have a youth here who has things to say and share. And he was there just trying to warm up for his run.
Did you say something?
He did. He spoke to the group. I was really happy, and we celebrated that he had just graduated because I was the MC for that event, which was really fun. But he's so good, just like his daddy. He was ready to go. He had some good
impromptu,
words.
which is really,
Yeah.
that's a really good skill to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, it was definitely what we needed because we do the prayer at the 10K line, and then the 5K starts after. There's not really anything going on, so I had filled space. Very thankful, and he got a shirt.
Yeah.
Question, the sponsors that we're looking for just for the food.
Right now, but if we find out that the folks that we want, who are the cultural sharers, knowledge holders, or like the MC, are gonna be a certain cost or anything like that, I think that'll be more of like a discussion with Rose on what the city can cover and then what we can.
As I was thinking, like, I know a couple, one's he's a lawyer, he owns a law firm. Might be able to be a sponsor, and I got a friend, he's got a Native American general contractor, but he's got some pretty big contracts right now,
Okay.
so you might want to be able to help sponsor, some of that.
We can definitely divide that up, and maybe for the future, we can figure out how to like put together a small packet or something where it's like 500,
Because
1,000 or
otherwise, like
something.
100, for breakfast and 125, that's gonna be pretty expensive.
Yeah, we're looking at like $3,000.
Yeah, so like, if it was sponsored, do you have any kind of like information that you can email out that I could forward to?
No, and that's what I was just saying right now. That's something we should probably look at in the future because we don't have anything like that now, but we should. Mhm. And I think we will. I mean, what year is this now, you guys? We're running this,
This is the fourth.
the 4th year? It's perfect. This is awesome. We're like really dialing it in now and we know what to expect. We'll have a sheet next year, but if they're interested, we can,
Okay.
whatever they want to do, honestly.
Did you say we'll have a sheet next year?
Oh, sheet. Should we have it? No.
Okay, that's very cultural. Butchery.
I look for a tree that hang it up.
That's under, that's.
Has to be through the person like that.
Then we,
We
then,
did
it-
two.
and then that was the first one in 19.
So hard.
And then 20 was online. And then
Okay.
20.
Rose brings it up because I cry at every meeting.
I just spilled
I do. I'm always crying.
Yeah. Correct me on
Just the story.
I think, I'd have to research it, but I think he's right. I think he's saying that this is probably the 5th year.
Yeah.
And then 6 years maybe for Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Okay, cool. Well, and as we unfold here, I think it will prompt some different ideas on Indigenous Peoples' Day, which reminder to any folks who are part of that working group, I believe is scheduled for next week, which is pretty cool, or in a couple of weeks. Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. But great, so we're there. Do we want to, if anybody from the commission would like to be the MC, we can have you on the list as a option or backup or anything, if anybody's feeling passionate.
I thought there were the options too. Your son does it, if not, you do it.
Yeah, and if you have any other ideas on MCs, triggers later on, just send me the information. Just make sure you have their contact number so I can reach out and
I'll
ask
put
questions.
Machias and you. I'm always down, but it's like, I don't mind being a last option because I know I've helped out with the last 2 Indigenous Peoples' Day and I feel like there's a lot of folks around town who would really like this opportunity and be able to support them. Caius and Daryl. Yeah.
Everybody, I apologize for being late. I'm just all trying to get situated on here, just came back from work. But I didn't know this room existed. First time I've ever been here. So no idea.
Yeah.
Ever.
I didn't either. When he said left, I almost went into where I'm supposed to have a bag, and then I saw this door open.
I went left, and then I went that way. I was like, okay, where do I
He
go?
said, come up here and go left.
Yeah.
but
It's
I-
kind of hidden, the door's kind of hidden, so.
I just remember
Which is
from the
nice.
December meeting.
Yeah, was down there, right? Or we down here? It was here.
So
bad.
what do we do?
We want you to be the anchor.
Oh, that's the November, October.
August.
No, that's August. That wasn't.
No worries.
People's Day.
Commissioner Francis, we're so happy you're here. No worries. I'll brief you really quick. We committed to Market of Dreams. We're gonna be there on Monday, August 11th. We're gonna book the whole day, so we'll be there from 8 to 3, 8 to 4. The event will be from 9 to 1. And we decided for food, we're gonna look for food to serve 100 people for breakfast. And we're gonna go with a local burrito lady, courtesy of Commissioner Lance and everybody else who has had her burritos. And then Ask Mine Wins for coffee. And if, go from cost from there and then backtrack on what sponsors will need to cover. And we're still gonna go with Artisan's Kitchen for lunch, but it's gonna serve 125 people now. And we're gonna work with Flag Family Food Center to get 50 sack lunches for any unsheltered relatives or community members that trickle in throughout the day. And there's no food outside of there, so we can provide food to the community. And we are aligning a plan in place that if we have a bunch of leftover food, we're gonna coordinate with CATS and plan to have it delivered there or drop off. Yeah, for cultural shares, we each, I, Commissioner Moana, Commissioner Marks, have some groups in mind, and we're waiting to hear back if they're available, and we're prioritizing youth groups.
As far as speakers, like I said, the
Thank you, Commissioner.
Indigenous ambassadors for next year, are both Hopi, and one of them does have somebody that's related to either Coachella or military. They shared a lot. And
Yeah.
They,
Oh, that was Dylan, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so he did say he wanted to do a presentation, huh? Okay, so then, and is that, I know we run it a little different. I wasn't at the last one, so I was just at the one before. Do we make space for like a whole presentation, like a slideshow or
Looks
like they
if
have
it's a,
the
if
ability
it's a
to do
keynote speaker.
keynote speaker? Okay,
If it's a
perfect.
keynote, then we usually give them at least 30 to 45 minutes.
Should we give Dylan? Does that work? No? Okay.
I think with the capacity, what we're looking at, I don't think that, he would be the keynote. I think you still find a keynote, because you want to find somebody.
But he would be like a youth.
Yeah,
a
youth speaker,
voice.
give them 10 to 15.
Okay.
I think that would serve as
Who's
a
doing? Kim.
direct.
He's a high school student. He's one of the.
Yeah.
And he
He's
used the.
he's shown up to a couple of our meetings
Yeah.
on time. Good kid.
Yeah, that's.
So he wanted to be involved with planning for the Indigenous Code Talker. He works, he's.
I'll send him an email. An email. Dylan to be a youth speaker. He would talk for about, we said 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so then we need a keynote then, is what we're looking for. Okay.
Let me find that guy who did I think our first Co-Talker Day or Co-Talker celebration. Our first one, he was one of the ones that came out and did a PowerPoint presentation. I thought he would be really good. He knows a lot of history on the Hopi side, the Co-Talkers.
I think he even, I don't know if it was like a poster or something, he brought like, what the medals look like.
Yeah.
I'm
That's,
not-
so
Yeah,
that's
I'll find
where,
his name,
perfect.
unless you have other, but submit other names so that we can always.
And we'll make the deadline July 14th too.
Yes.
July 14th for speakers, knowledge holders, cultural shares. Awesome. And Commissioner Francis, we all agreed that we would like to make it a bit more Hopi centric this year to honor those from that tribe that served and protected. So we're looking at groups like that and speakers that way. But our deadline for anybody who would like to consider or commit to being a cultural shareholder, a knowledge holder, or a speaker is July 14th, because the agenda needs to be completed by the 21st. All right, I think, and then we have a section for vendors and tabling. That space could technically have vendors, but more than likely might have to have some folks outside. Do we want to have a few booths at hand at the event? I think it would be kind of tight, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it would be really hard. If anything, maybe we can reserve like 10 minutes at the end for community announcements. If folks are with a program, I know so many of us are involved with different groups. We can take like 10 minutes at the end and have folks come up and share. Maybe we cap it out at like 10 people or something like that. Maybe have a sign-in sheet at the beginning of if they want to share something at the end and their name, and we'll call up people accordingly. I saw that ran at like another community event and thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, do we need vendors? I mean, are you talking about, I'm thinking of Indigenous Peoples' Day. We
Yeah.
had vendors, but it was, a nonprofit people, all that kind of, is that the vendors you're talking about? Not people
Yeah.
selling jewelry and things like that.
I mean, it could be either or, but there's no space really for
Yeah.
anybody to
I
booth.
don't think we
I think we're good. I
Yeah.
think that's more of an Indigenous Peoples' Day
Yeah.
kind of deal. Cool. So then I'm gonna put big no here, but are we okay? Do we agree to do like a few minutes at the end for community announcements after, before close?
Maybe reach out to Veteran Services and see if somebody
Okay.
could be there. in case
That would be, that's a
extra
good,
support.
good idea. And I know exactly who to give a call to. I think to call Josh.
Why you're just so connected.
I'm just nosy. Just nosy and I can't sit still. If anybody knows anybody else from Veteran Services, I'm gonna give Joshua Ware a call. He does outreach with unsheltered relatives and unsheltered veterans, things like that. And travels around the different tribes doing that kind of work, and I'll see if he's available. Unless anybody's got anybody else.
From ICAP, he's not native, but Steve works with NAU veterans.
Okay.
Maybe he knows of other people.
Do you want to reach out and ask if they'd like to come?
What should I ask him?
If they want to attend, have like a booth to share information. We don't want to open it up to the community is what I think the consensus is, and have multiple booths there sharing information because there's not a lot of space. But because veterans will be there, it's probably a good idea to have at least one or two booths, or just even invite them to attend so they can connect with other veterans and relatives that are there.
Thanks, Chris.
So of course, like extend the invitation for people to come, but if they're interested in like having a booth or talking about services, we
You
can
were
figure
talking
out.
about, community, sharing with the community other things at the end, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do a couple minutes there. Not much of a talker, but,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that'll be open to anybody who's in that room.
and I think it's more geared towards students.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But it's still great. We're gonna have, I think, if you guys feel comfortable with it, I think a sign-in sheet of folks who want to share a community announcement at the end will be great. And then we'll hand it off to the MC to call people up one by one. Only reserve like 10 minutes or something like that so people can connect, since we'll limit it to like one or two booths, which will only be focused on veteran services. Does that sound comfortable? Yeah. Sweet. Then I think.
Would that be the same time, like, let's say, out of the crowd, there might be some people who might want to share a story about, some co-talkers or something like that, you know, and somebody might want to share some information of people who had been maybe family members, you know, because I know like a lot of us that have veterans in our family, they share stories, you know what I mean? And maybe there might be a time, maybe towards the end where, you know, kind of like what you're saying,
Yeah.
somebody to share something that maybe somebody in the audience might be able
Yeah.
to share a story or something of what they know, you know.
I think when we do that, we need to really be, because people want to leave too after a while, you know,
Yep.
they're all day. That they have a certain amount of time to do that, you know, because, you know, when it's a lot of personal information, of their experiences or their family experiences with that. They'll just go on and on and on, you know, and it happens, you know, and it, when you open it up and you only have like, you say, well, if you have anything to share, you know, you have 3 to 5 minutes. It's not 3 or 5 minutes, you know, so.
And then it turns into something else, not
Yeah.
about the co-talkers.
Yeah.
It's usually about, you know, more like maybe gratitude, or I know a family that went through this, or,
Yeah.
you know, it's not really about what we're intentionally
Yeah,
trying
and
to do.
yeah, I 100% agree. I do think that's a really cool point to bring up, and I think that would be really good for the community. And I think the best way for us to figure out how to establish it is if we revisit like some of the old agendas. So the way it's laid out from 9 to 1, we'll have the MC come and do announcements. This was in 2024. We did a posting of colors, then the opening prayer, we did a land acknowledgement, welcome message, and the Code Talkers proclamation from the mayor, acknowledgements, and then we had the keynote address. So it'll go keynote, then the youth speaker. After will be like a closing prayer to wrap it up. We're gonna try to make room for those community announcements for about 10 to 15 minutes. So I think it would be kind of difficult to find a space where we can break up time to do, I guess, sharing
The
stories.
cultural sharing needs to also be inserted into that one, because I don't
Yep.
think.
Yeah, and then at the end, there was an honor baskets presentation at that one too. And a light lunch following the event. Yeah, because we did that 9 to 1. So
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just at a graduation event and those people, it went on till 8 o'clock. It was like all the family got up. So what you were saying, when you said that, I'm like, you're right, you know, because like people get up and start sharing different things, you know, for the graduate, but this would be kind of similar. That's what I was kind of mentioning, and it could drag on for.
And with that, maybe we don't even open it up for
That makes
community
sense.
announcements either then, to keep it
Yeah.
tight.
I think we should have a community, like a announcement table. where
Yeah, people bring
can-
flyers and
Yeah.
stuff. I like it. Awesome. Announcement table.
Table of some. Announcement table. Share a table.
Okay, great. I think that wraps up all of those major parts of the programming. Because once we answer all the other questions about who's attending, who's speaking, all of that, then we can finalize the agenda. And the deadline's gonna be July 14th for our friends to give us an answer.
What do you want to do about the posting of colors? Is there a holy group that you know of? That can post colors, because really, we've been using the local one for all the ones that we've been doing.
But the Hopi, could be high, they have a JROTC. They have a JROTC.
City.
They're Marine, huh? To the city.
Thank you.
Or someone, or a group that's all indigenous. The
Yeah.
only thing we need to worry about there is lodging, probably. Because I know that, the museum usually uses sometimes a group from down in Phoenix or Tucson, one of the.
Well, hi.
Sorry, I'm Taylor.
Yes.
Okay. If it's one will be high, I don't see us needing lodging. Because one's only a part day thing. So let me look into that.
And if it's school day, that's the only other thing. And maybe.
It is.
Maybe like get that on Monday.
Like they only need like maybe 5.
Yeah, when it comes to lodging, if you guys need any support there, I know a few director of sales with the hotels here in town that can get us rooms for affordable prices. I'm not gonna say here on our recorded meeting, so then everybody will ask me, but if we need to get like a block of 4 to 6 rooms or something like that, I can always reach out and see if we can get some discounts to support with funding. I know. Bring everybody.
So if anybody has ideas around that, then that would be great. If you know of others.
I think we might be square to close this out. If everybody feels good and clear on their to-dos with their peoples.
And you said no vendors, right? Just,
No vendors, yep. And I got notes, so I'll send like a recap to Rose too on everything we discussed here. Oh, Commissioner Cootie, I'm so glad you're right there. There was some confusion between in our, you did though, in our last meeting, there was some confusion on what our cadence, our meeting cadence was gonna be. If it's every Wednesday at 11 a.m. or every Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. So I just wanted to clarify which ones we committed to with our couple of working group peeps here.
Did we say 11?
I thought we said 11 too.
Yeah.
11 a.m. every Wednesday up until
Yeah.
that we wanted to block off an hour, hopefully not take up more than a half hour, but in the event.
Half an hour.
We said it half an hour, and then we changed it to an hour. But if we take one's time, then that's totally fine.
Yeah, and since we're meeting,
15 minutes yesterday.
Yeah, I will. Think so.
no problem. One, since we're meeting today, should we just resume meetings on the 25th? Wednesday, the 25th, I'll block off right now.
yeah, I declined
Yeah,
it
that's fine.
because my understanding was we were gonna talk about it here.
Yeah, no worries. Okay,
And it looks like Hopi High School, Hopi Junior Senior High School has an ROTC program, so I can reach out to the school.
okay, then I'm good to close it out. Thank you so much, everybody, for like the time and effort and thought into planning this. Really excited and stoked to bring it up again when we do Indigenous Peoples Day. And for anybody in that working group, that meeting is in 2 weeks. Yay.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Mariah, for sharing all that information. It's amazing what you're doing right there and all your planning. Very organized. Very impressed with that, as always.
We're the tissues.
Move on to general business. Item B, save the date samples. Commissioner Francis will provide samples for the save the date advertisement. The selected sample will be distributed for Indigenous Code Talkers celebration. Commissioner Francis?
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna present that today, like at this meeting, but I didn't know there was gonna be samples. I just have the one. So I can finish this by the end of, before lunch, so I can share after lunch.
All right, all right. Sounds good. We'll move on to item C, Indigenous Commission meeting on July 3rd, 2025. Staff liaison Togi, Rose Togi will not be available on July 3rd, 2025, requesting direction from the commission regarding this meeting. So we want to move the date?
Yeah, that would be really, it would be up to you guys because that's the day before 4th of July. So a lot of people will probably be not here, and I won't be here either. So, yeah.
So what about the 10th?
Yeah, I'd be really down to reschedule for that week.
Tenth is open for myself, so.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, let me double check.
Are you available on your tip?
Better really think.
You'll be driving all over the red.
What day is the tenth?
It's a Thursday.
I'm available that day too.
Yeah, I can work.
You're really lost in that.
Yeah, my schedule.
Look at my calendar.
Oh, I left my photo home. It's about a mile away.
You can go get it.
You can get it out.
I'll get it on mine.
Shirley,
So
Michelle,
honest. Was that your phone?
the 10th?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm a little back.
Yeah. And Taylor, can you come back up?
Just kidding. You're also
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, so thank you. We'll go reschedule till the 10th.
You'll send that out?
And oh, yeah.
I'm
I'll
sorry.
change that.
It's like, oh no. I was trying to remember if I had scheduled anything.
You can rest on lunch.
I should not think of that. I'm gonna worry myself.
This is the event that we usually have blocked out on Thursdays, the
I
first
say,
Thursday.
I don't, 11, Wednesday.
Yes.
Is it, this is 11? I don't, yes, okay, so
Rose, what time?
11.
11?
11, yeah, same
11?
time. And I'll resend them the invite. Thank you, everybody. Oh, well, we're on the 4th of July situation. We're gonna have, the city's gonna have the drone show. That, I think it's on that day or maybe the weekend. I'm not sure about that, but be on the lookout for the 4th of July drone show by the city. We suggested that, anyway, that we're planning, but there was a request on how we could include Indigenous people. So we decided that the mountain should be in there. We also decided that a Navajo rug should be in there. And then also the Hopi sun. Yeah, that's gonna be in there. And then an arrowhead and an eagle feather. So on our side, and then they're gonna go like down the history of Flagstaff. Yeah. So,
All of the compass.
yeah, and the drone, yeah, all in the drone. It's gonna be, I'll send a map to you on where's a good location to view from. Or the places they recommend. So it sounds like it's gonna be somewhere like on the Coconino, high school, that hill. I think it's gonna be up there. I think
Thank
so.
you so much.
So I'll send the information to you.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Share. And you're being recorded.
I know. I just found a picture of my good friend. So you wanted it Hopi centric, so now I had to turn everything I was thinking about. So I found my friend Corky. So this is Corky Hopi. And if I add the two medallions of the Hopi code talker medallions and save the date and the address and all that, that's one option. But sorry, I just saw Corky's face. I'm like, oh, I can use his face. Wow. It'll be ready. Like,
The agenda will be more Hopi related, but the sample should include both. Navajo and Hopi. If you're using medallion.
okay. Yes, can it be any code talker medallion? Okay.
Actually, I was just thinking about this.
Yeah.
I saw a post recently. I haven't listened to the episode yet, but this podcast I follow, it's called Ologies. She just did an episode on cryptology, so like codes and things like that. And I guess in that episode she talks about native code talkers. That's part of that episode.
What are you saying as a commission that we could send out media links?
Maybe I just
Book
it made me.
recommendations
I
to the
just
public?
saw that the other day and it made me think of that. So maybe
Yeah.
I don't.
Because
Like I said, I
schools
haven't.
could plug in.
I haven't listened to the podcast yet, so that episode yet, but she did. But she just did a post about it on Instagram too. Can you send it to me and I can send it out or?
Local.
No, she's like a science person. She's a bit, kind of a bigger person. Yeah. But it's a fun podcast. It's about like science or whatever, like enology, so like geology, biology. She did one on foxes recently.
Something we could do as a commission, like put out recommended media connection podcasts, books, things like that. So I think that people will pay a little bit more attention to it. Schools can tap into that and say, okay, there's a cultural heritage month coming up, or there's what's happening in October. Let's look at the commission and see what's.
That'll be fine. I think that'll be fine. I just let her know to make sure that it's. I mean, if it's all informational, then.
Please information.
Just like these years, I think. Yeah, resources.
For that information, we're gonna move on to discussion item number 6A. Rhetoric-based Northern Arizona University English professor Taylor Thompson will provide a presentation of NAU's Spring 2025 Public Humanities Project. The rhetoric of space is where first-year students will research access, and representation issues in Flagstaff, develop proposals in collaboration with local civic partners, including a request for potential support, and guidance from the Indigenous Commission. Thompson.
It showed it as being connected and then it like.
Another way to do it is to join the meeting link and then she can pull you in.
I guess I'll start as this is getting pulling up. So I teach a class, I teach 105 at Flagstaff and at NAU, sorry. I walked here and then I got stuck on the at NAU, I teach English 105, which is the composition course that all of the students have to take. And I got a grant for over the summer to develop, make the course more research oriented. I also did the Indigenous Perspectives Coursework Initiative training. And so I'm trying to bring more of that into my classroom. I can't get the official designation because all of the sections, of course, have to have the designation. And there's like 90 sections of 105 and I only teach 3 of those. But I am trying to bring, yes. So I asked Elise and Erin about it at the training and they said I'd have to get all of them. They'd have to be designated and I only teach 3 of them. So anyway, so I can't get those officially designated, but I am trying to bring more of that. Oh, great. I am trying to bring more of that into my classroom, but my area of study is rhetoric of the body, and so just kind of a lot of discussions around body and identity that I bring into my classroom, and I'm trying to sort of lean on that for this fall and spring. Yes. Do we have a camera?
No, I think it's all fine.
Okay.
So I'll just turn for you.
Okay, yes. So the project that I am doing, I guess that I am recreating my course through is called The Rhetoric of Space, Gender, Disability, and Body Inclusivity in Flagstaff. But more broadly, that's presentation, that's accessibility. And I really am trying to leave it open to the students to choose topics that are meaningful to them. You can go to the next slide.
So what I want to talk about today is just like more of an intro to the project, involved parties, the curriculum and timeline. Oh, I have involved parties twice. I guess I didn't edit this very well. And then I also want to talk about why I'm here and what I wanted to possibly get assistance with from the Indigenous Commission, and then goals for students and a youth community, some funding they have available, and then of course time for questions at the end. Yeah, so go to the intro, the next slide.
And you don't have to rush.
Oh, sorry, I'm a fast talker, especially when for some reason I do really well in class, not talking too fast, but presentations are different. But yeah, let's go to the introduction. In 2025 fall, so this fall, I am teaching the NAU version, meaning what the students are doing is they choose topics, issues that they see on NAU campus for representation and inclusion. And they are doing analyses on them, and then they are making proposals for how to fix those issues. And I'm specifically encouraging them to pick issues that are maybe smaller scale, such as signage, or small issues with accessibility, things that they could potentially actually move forward with, get grants for. Otherwise, a lot of times I tell them to pick issues that you pick an issue you'd like to change, and they like, let's build a new gym, and it's like, millions of dollars. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start smaller. So my goal is for them to become more connected to the university around them. I also do get a good amount of first gen students in my courses and Indigenous students in my courses, and they usually have really meaningful issues that they want to address. And so I want to provide a space where they can actually connect with facilities on campus that can, facilitate those changes, getting those started, or putting those into action. So in fall, it's the NAU version. And then in the spring, I'm expanding it to the community. So Flagstaff community. And so part of that is actually walking around in the community and identifying areas. And again, a big part of that is identity for themselves. Like, what do you see? And what is something that you see that is missing or that needs to be changed? And I teach three, yeah, you can do it next. I teach 3 sections, about 60 students. And yeah, I am the grant recipient. I'm the instructor of the courses. So I'm involved, obviously. I'm gonna also have a grant assistant, somebody to help sort of facilitate, because I am planning for the instruction groups in this class, and the support provided to students is going to be heavier than a normal teaching load. So I will have a graduate student who is helping me out. They're getting trained, right? They're going to get trained. They're not officially given the position yet, so I don't have a picture of them. But they're happy about it. I mean, somebody's they get paid, so they're happy about it. And then, of course, city partners. Good, next slide. Now, a couple of city partners I'm hoping to get help with, or get assistance from, my support from, I guess that's the best way to say it. I'm talking to the Heritage Preservation Commission. I've already talked with the Beautification Arts and Sciences program for the city. I am in talks with the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living, Diversity Awareness, and of course, Indigenous Commission. And I really want to leave it as something that is very open to however involved or not involved my city partners want to be, but I really just want my students in the spring to be able to make connections with real community bodies that work towards change, and and so that they can learn about those processes, those kinds of things. So the curriculum and timeline. I just was going to tell a little bit more there. I sort of already talked about it, but the first thing they do is they do a self-reflection of their experiences with body rhetoric, meaning what has your experience as a person been, or as a community member been, as far as things that were accessible or inaccessible to you because of various issues. And that can be anywhere from economics to disability to just like political. And then obviously presentation of self, presentation of identity, and representation in space. So what are your experiences with those? In the past, I have done some adjacent sort of writing activities where a lot of students share about, especially on NAU campus, students share about issues with Indigenous representation, even at NAU, which if you walk around NAU is not hard to see what the issues are. And then we have students complete an observation of the community issue. So they'll walk around, or drive around, I guess it'll be colder since it'll be winter, but maybe we'll have a late winter like we did last year. But the idea is that they identify issues in the community, and it can be any part of Flagstaff. It could be something that is, housing based, it could be something that is, commercial based. It could be basically, they could find a spot on the wall that they think, hey, there, a mural could go here that could better represent, a portion of, students or community members that are frequently ignored, or an important issue that needs to be brought to light. Or it could be like, this building doesn't have a ramp, and there's a lot of students who can't use the stairs, or a lot of community members who can't use the stairs. And we talk a lot about what these issues, what messages they send. So when there's an issue with representation, when there's an issue with accessibility, what message does it send, and what message do we want it to send instead? So by not having stairs, for example, the message is, can't use the stairs, we don't want you here, sort of broadly. But if we have like a ramp or some other way of sort of getting into that building, especially if it's like, a building that is an important building in the city, if we do have a way for people to get into, we're saying everyone is welcome here. And so that's kind of something that we talk about in the class. And then another thing that students will do after that is they will decide on, so they each do their individual observations, and then they form groups, and they decide amongst themselves which one do they want to move forward with and make a proposal for. So they can complete various exploration and research documents. And I have added in a lot of the readings from the IKIDL, is that what we're calling it?
IKDL.
IKIDL,
Whatever.
I never say it right. Anyways, I've added in some there, and I've tried to sort of expand the authors and things that we are exploring so that students can see these various perspectives, because an important part of making change is being able to find various solutions and voices from different parts of the United States, but also of the community as well. So a lot of it will be self-led in that way. But and the last thing they do is they create a proposal to solve the issue. And so they have to look into the financial aspect, they have to look into the stakeholders aspect, and they're working together in a group. And then this is the stage in which stages 3 and 4 is when they would start to actually get in contact with people who can help them to learn about the processes they're making change, learn about possibly angles on their issue that are more doable than others, or even just things that have been done that are similar in the community that they don't, even just walking around, they can't see, or they haven't seen before. And so that is kind of where I see community partners sort of helping support the students. I only know so much about like city planning and processes and things like that. And so I'm hoping to get a few guest speakers into the class as well to kind of, shed some light and help point students in the right direction, or, hey, I'm the kind of person that, for these types of projects, would be someone that you might want to talk to. And with that, they prepare a public facing presentation and a project, some kind of project that is long lasting, like a digital map of areas that are more accessible versus less accessible, for areas that you should check out if you want to see, certain representation. Or it could be like a poster or a video walkthrough or whatever, some kind of project that helps to support their proposal. And then with that, they do a presentation. And my real goal is to use the funding that I have from the Love It grant that I got to maybe put on some kind of May, end of year, and some year community and obviously, like, my students and a youth sort of partner project where the students can present these in conjunction with the community partners that helps them to either, get the project started, or even, really small things, complete the project, or, complete it that summer. So that's kind of the curriculum and the goal with that part. I can go to the next slide, thank you. So January is self-reflection, February rhetorical analysis, March foundation documents, April and May is proposal project presentation. So March through May would be when city partners could help to provide that support that I'm talking about. They need more information, where they can make those connections. Again, one of the big things is getting the students connected to the community, especially for those that are, maybe from adjacent areas but aren't as familiar with Flagstaff specifically. And then the next one. So more specifically, the students choose an issue related to, a good amount, as I said, a good amount of students are Indigenous students, and for those students that choose to do their proposals on issues related to Indigenous representation or access in the Flagstaff community. I would just love if they had someone directly, like a group directly, that is like an official group, so they can feel like what they're doing actually has purpose and is meaningful. Someone, a group like the Indigenous Commission that could help support, that they could reach out to directly, either just via email, or they could even set up a meeting if it was like maybe something more important with one or more of the commission members, and then they could ask questions about what is the process here, what are the constraints, what are some similar things, you know, things that they can't necessarily research themselves, but they might have questions about. And also, I didn't put this on here, but if there was some kind of event at the end of the year, which would be the goal, with some of the funding that I've gotten, just kind of being part of that end of the year event, or, you know, helping to support the students. We're really trying to help students do more research, become more connected with the community, become more connected with their identities and ability to make change. I have a lot of students who are very vocal about things they care about, but they aren't sure how to make that jump from, I care about this, what can I do about it? And of course, I'm also trying to support the university's mission to have more Indigenous representation. Yeah, so if I can't do the actual designation for the coursework, I would like to try and at least bring it into my class as much as possible, because my classes, it's a required class that students have to take. So we're trying to make that be. And trying to think what other slides are left. Just go to the next one. Okay, the goals. Yes, okay. I sort of just talked about it, but I'm kind of out of order. I can just go to the next one. So yeah, again, student goals are to become more aware of community needs, ways of change, processes, and overview of contributions to the world. So making that connection between, like, a lot of times they come to this class, it's a required course. A lot of them don't want to be there. And so I'm trying to show them that what you're doing in this class doesn't just matter for your grade, but it matters for real life. And I think that can help them moving forward in their other classes to, instead of looking things out like, oh, I have to take this class, or, oh, I don't really like this. How can I make it more meaningful by connecting it to the real world? And AU goals, obviously more connected to the community, and possibly future collaboration that's already kind of been set up. And then community goals, obviously, we want to amplify those community voices. We want to have better representation and acknowledgement of issues, and probably more digital tools available for people who are in the community and people who are visiting the community. And, the grant funding I was talking about, I'm hope, you know, it could be used for a community event in May that is like a joint community, like a space for the students to share what they've been doing, and possibly, I just thought of this, possibly make them get, you know, people interested who have more funding available to actually get some of those projects started and, you know, get them going. Also, if that wasn't as much of interest, or it didn't require as much of the funding, it could be small project implementation, like mural signage, website domains and things, and or funding for visiting speakers. Now, I will say it's only $1,500. It's not very much money, but I feel like if I, you know, did like the budget version of one of these, we could probably at least have, like, if we could find a free space like a park or something like that, we could provide, you know, refreshments for people. We could provide, you know, front seating or whatever is needed, or obviously, you know, small projects. If we had someone, you know, like a student artist, that would be more affordable, like a professional artist. But yeah, and then I think the next one might just be the things. Yeah. So I want to thank you guys so much for letting me be here, intruding on your retreat, on your meeting. I'm really grateful to have your ear for, you know, these few minutes talking about this project. I feel very passionately about getting students connected and involved in things that matter. And so the Indigenous Commission is a big one on my list of community partners who could really help, because, like I said, I'm trying to bring in more community voices, and I'm trying to show students that there are literally, you know, professional groups at play who know how to make these changes, who know how to make these differences. And it's not just like, a lot of students feel like, oh, there's no one out there who cares about the things that I care about. I'll show them there are people out there who care about these things, and they're making changes, they're making difference. And so even just that connection, you know, nothing else would be something very, I think, meaningful for them. But yeah, so, you know, any questions you guys have about the curriculum itself, or the you know, like I guess the amount of students that might be interested in running the Indigenous Commission or anything in that vein.
What would the time commitment be for the commission to be able to participate?
I think as little or as much as you would like. I'm planning to, I'm, the bulk of my planning for the course is gonna be in July is all the curriculum stuff. And then I have until, really, until like the end of the year to determine how much or how little I will share with my students that you are available, if that makes sense. So you could kind of fill out for yourselves how much time or energy you would want to devote, and I could just tell them, you know, like if it was specific groups, I could just only connect those specific groups, or I could straight out say, if there was more time available, like, you know, just this is one of the city partners that's available. So if we're thinking about doing your project on an issue related that this would be a helpful group for, that could be also some motivation for them to pick that topic maybe over a different topic if they know that there's support. But it just depends, you know, if it's just like, hey, we only have, you know, I don't know, a couple minutes here or there for answering emails, then I could just directly connect specific groups who choose a project that is related. And there'll be probably 20 groups-ish total of students. And so I would probably see maybe like 3 to 5 of them choosing an issue from what I've seen just in my past classes when they've chosen issues. I'm happy to do with something that the Indigenous Commission could help support.
So with the final project being based in the community, what are you envisioning, or what have you worked on in the past that could maybe expand upon like that impact in the community? Is it all kind of the parameters keeping you on NAU campus, or is that something that could happen?
Oh, so for fall, I'm just starting with NAU campus because we're starting small. The original grant I got was also NAU sort of campus based. So I was sort of going with that. And then I wanted to expand it in spring to be community based. I'm not sure, but maybe I can reiterate your question.
So the reason I'm asking is because if you're going into the community, there is the beautification grant that maybe students can help. Because it is an English class, it is writing, right? Being able to develop a partnership with the community to be able to apply for that beautification grant to build a much bigger project.
Yes, and the great thing is, thank you so much for mentioning that. The great thing is that my students all have different majors, and I do get a few art students and a few like graphic design students, and so I see those students having projects that are directly based on beautifying the community. And then, I mean, part of what they'll be doing in the class is finding out avenues to either present their work outside of just our end of the year thing and applying for funding to actually get those things started. So I'll definitely have that as a big one there. And I'm not sure if they didn't mention it, but maybe connected with the beautification and I forget the full name. Arts and science program, maybe they're connected with that or they know about it as well. They're the other commission that has for sure told me that they are, you know, wanting to be partners on this as well. So I envision in Flagstaff becoming a lot more beautiful because of that, if nothing else. Yes. But the goal, I do see, because of the limits that I'm putting on, the parameters I'm putting on, the type of projects that they are allowed to do, having to be, I think what I was doing was it has to be less than $10,000 and less than 2 years to get started and do most of it. Because otherwise I get things like they want to build whole buildings, you know, or they want to, you know, do really grand things, which are great, but I want to show them that if they start small, they can still make big moves. So I do envision, you know, in the fall, one thing I'm gonna mention is, like, for example, we have a lot of signs for buildings on NAU campus, and I was talking to Aura about this and talking about how it's interesting that we have our land acknowledgement and that we have our CNAIF, the Center for Native American Indigenous Futures, and that's all, you know, they got an Indigenous landscaper, and they, you know, it's kind of like the place on campus for Indigenous students to go and receive support. But it's weird that we have like land acknowledgement and that we have all of these initiatives in play, but that the infrastructure and the buildings themselves don't reflect, it's just that one space. It's like, what does it say? What's the message? Because when we walk, we're gonna walk around campus, look at things in the fall. What does it say that this is the one space? Shouldn't the whole campus, be reflective, or at least the majority, right? So what does it say that it isn't, and it's only this one space? And so and we'll talk about signage, like what's a small thing? What's a small thing that could improve that? Because obviously, a whole infrastructure change, it'd be too much for students to probably at this point get involved in, but like signage, like, what if we even just had like bilingual signage on buildings, like where it says what the name of the building is. And those are the types of ideas I'm gonna kind of like put into their heads so that they're thinking of, oh, just small scale, like we just need more signage, we just need more, murals on the walls, we just need more spaces that are designed in a way that is representative of the culture that is around the community and in the community. So that's kind of what I see probably most of the projects being about.
So did you say that you were, I'm sorry, Daryl.
Okay.
Did you say that you've gone through the cycle before with a different?
I've sort of gone through the cycle in that I have done the proposal project before, but I've usually left it more vague to where they can pick things from their own communities back home, like it's not specific to Flagstaff. And so the big change is it's more specific to Flagstaff, and I have adjusted the class to be more about body rhetoric rather than just like general writing skills. There's more research involved, but I have gone through the proposal process with students a couple of times, and I have had students who have come to me and said, we'd really like to actually move this proposal forward. Like, what is the way that we can do that? And so this sort of revamp of the class is meant to better respond to that question. Like, hey, we've got resources, we've got people that can help you move this forward. Because before it was students who were like, we don't have enough gender neutral bathrooms on campus. And so they're like, how do we move this forward? So I got them connected with facilities management, and, just trying to get the ball rolling there. And so I'd like to do more of that for students.
Yeah, I know that's probably one example, but is there anything that's an example of Indigenous initiatives at a time?
Oh, like the project that students have wanted to do. One that comes to mind, there have been a couple. One that comes to mind is I had a student who, geography, which is another reason why I keep it local. But I had a student who talking about the education system, a specific school in her hometown that was not representative of like Indigenous values, if that makes sense. So they were not teaching the way that their curriculum was set up for elementary school students was basically limited to like, oh, there's a language class, you learn Navajo, and that was it. And it was like, there was the way they taught the history classes was not representative of, I would say more accurate history, and so we were talking about little changes that could be made. And so she was White River, I think. Is that right? Might have been the area. Anyways, so we were talking about different ways that could be moved forward. And so she was talking about like looking into different types of textbooks that did a better job, that would not be a burden as far as financially, because we talk about a lot how financial is the biggest roadblock to getting any of these things sort of completed. Because if you're asking people for money, they're gonna be like, why do you need money? Can you justify it? So that's one that comes to mind. I have also had students who talk about, the way that they feel on campus, sort of related to the idea that we have limited spaces that are for making Indigenous students feel welcome on campus. And so a lot of them have been curriculum based. We've had students who talked about type grading that happens in classrooms and how a lot of times it's punitive and not representative of just different types of knowledge holding. I've had students who have specifically done proposals on changes they think should be made to the curriculum and how this would be moved forward, maybe starting with like one class. And English 1 and 5 is one of those because it's a common class to have to take. I'm trying to think. I probably should have made the list. I've been teaching. I should say I'm new on NAU campus. I just finished my second year here. So I don't have as much experience here on campus. Before I was at LSU, and a lot of the focus there is on Black American experience. So a lot of the issues that have been talked about have been issues related to ignorance around those topics. And I do get Black American students as well. So I would say I'll probably have a couple of projects in that area.
Is this just per student or is there a group that forms that have a common?
Yes, so they will form groups. I'm still determining whether I'm going to assign groups based off of the types of,
Is there a
projects that
number
they choose.
of students within that group?
Yeah, it could probably be 3 to 5 students per group. Yeah, 3 to 5 students per group. And the length of their proposal is dependent on the amount of students. So that's sort of,
If they're, I mean, I would think that if they have an interest to have Indigenous Commission as a partner, that, I mean, we do have a public participation with every meeting. Like 5 minutes or so, they can just do a proposal. This is, we don't discuss it. They just let us know what they want to do. But if they want to, or we want more information or want to get more involved, we can put them on the agenda. And that's kind of how meetings are formed, that they let us know what their proposal is, what kind of help they're seeking. I mean, we may not have all the answers, but maybe we can reach out to other people who can help them as well.
yeah, I like that idea. I think that probably better sort of, I guess, put the onus on the students to like find out, like get in contact, ask if you can put on the agenda for the meeting. And then have to actually go to the meeting. And then from there, finding out how much or little support would be needed for that project.
And that helps them with their presentation, their leadership, their speaking
Yes.
skills, plus also we're always recruiting. And we need younger bodies here too, and so it's something that they might get interested in, that people don't know that we have these small groups that are wanting to have more people involved, especially younger people, to carry on, what we do. So if they're going to stay here, then they can have those issues that are important to them, and they can keep having an impact on how it evolves later on.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that would, again, I am, I found that a lot of students struggle with initiative. And so I would love, if the Indigenous Commission was sort of on board with kind of being involved, even in just a small way. I would love to just be able to here's the email, reach out, find out, when it is, and put together a presentation. It's going to be like a, sure it's professional. And then that would also put the foot in the door for meeting on the commission and, students who are wanting to be part of this on a bigger level, even if their proposal isn't something that gets moved forward, they would have that connection. And then as a freshman, that would be really meaningful.
This has nothing to do with IC, Indigenous Commission, but we also have, like you said, you wanted it local. We do have a county-wide type of thing too, that have 3 diversity councils, the Indigenous Commission council, and then the or advisory council, and then the diaspora, which African Americans, and then the Chicano Hispanic Advisory Council. They have that too. That's countywide. Some of the students want to talk more about their specific communities outside of Flagstaff.
I like, yeah, and I definitely take that into consideration, because the reason I was limiting it to Flagstaff is because I know that physically it's more accessible for the students to get around to, but I would be open to making it open county. Like I said, I have sort of the sort of the bandwidth to be able to sort of open it out to a wider area. And I think county is still a good boundary. If students are willing and have the ability to sort of, connect to entities that are not here at the city hall.
Because there are students that come in, or they're online students from around the county, like Page, and on the reservations and stuff too, So I'm sure they have better connections with the local people there.
Yeah, that's probably true. I was
I don't know.
No, I definitely would take that into consideration. One benefit I was thinking of keeping in Flagstaff is that if a change was made, it was something that other students would see, and in the future to continue this project, like it literally like we could walk downtown and I could show them, this is from a proud student who did this. And so that's just one of the reasons why originally I had it sort of limited to Flagstaff, but yeah, I definitely, I like the idea of the community, the county-wide, because like you said, there are those other, groups that can provide support, for, if, you know, for students that are, from communities that are not, Indigenous specific.
So I think in the same vein of connecting to people, there's like the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff, which has a number of people possibly make themselves available for speaking. There's some projects that they're working on that we could maybe tap into. You can see something developed by May. I know that there was some folks, student groups on NAU, Native American student groups on NAU campus that were trying to work on Indigenous planting with labels, like they would have the name by their tribe or whatever that looks like. And I know some of those folks are still participating with the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff, so maybe that's a connection. When you're thinking artisans, maybe reaching out to like Bayou White Thorn Foundation, because there's a number of artists that do workshops and projects that could be connected to what you're looking at.
Also Native Americans community one, Naka as well.
Yeah.
If they're interested in the health bill or
Yes.
health administration.
Health and Human Services.
Yes, I actually was at the, sorry, I keep thinking of undergraduate research, I was gonna call it the UJers, but, it's got, there was a really good presentation I saw that was on, ethical research, and, the person was a health major, and so, they're sort of talking about that, and I would love, that was something I saw that, I was like, oh, I'd love if my students could like start doing this early, you know, like they're freshmen, like, should be involved with that, so I definitely like that idea, and one of the things I was thinking about getting in connected with these groups, and like you mentioned, Circle City, the Circle of Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff, is that if there are already projects that are in, like that are being, you know, worked on, maybe being able to like become part of that, or at least become aware of what's already in progress. Part of it is make sure you're not proposing a solution to something that's already being solved, or that already has, you know, make sure you're not proposing a solution that has already been tried and failed, is part of it. And so being able to connect to groups that are, you know, working on projects, making change, and make sure that they're not sort of like accidentally doing the same thing, or, you know, if there's something that overlaps, and that could sort of maybe save on funding, things like that, that could work as well, I think. Great.
Sharing all that information.
Yeah, and if you have more questions later, you know, I'm available via email. And again, most of the bulk of the details on this and the research I need to do is going to happen in July, because I am teaching class right now. I'm pretty pumped, but I have more places to research, so I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
Thank you again. Discussion item, move on to discussion item B, expand the city of Flagstaff land acknowledgement. Discussion to start, the potential to expand the current COF land acknowledgement to other elements that provide life for humanity. Input from Indigenous Commission will be critical.
Okay, so in the recent couple of weeks, well, actually, it's been probably a month or so. The director from sustainability reached out and said that she had gone to a conference somewhere, and she heard a water acknowledgement. And she said that it was so moving for her that she wanted to, so when she came back, she wanted to talk about it. And so we started that conversation, and we invited some, so she wanted, so we talked about it, and we said, okay, maybe we need to talk about some of the commissions that need to be involved in shaping this. conversation and how we go about doing this. And so when our first meeting, we talked about how we could approach just the enhancement of our current land acknowledgement. And then we know when we talk culturally, we're talking about the different elements that are very important and how they give life to us. Not just to us, but the plants, the trees, the land itself, and the animals. And so when we talked about that, we said, let's think about expanding it to all four elements of life. And so that these elements can be included in that acknowledgement. And make it to where we can really involve people, not just our native people, but our other relatives of color and our non-native relatives, that they can contribute on their knowledge base on how, because they have to breathe, they have to eat, they have to live as well. And so we talked about that. And so we wanted to combine all of that, which is the land, the water, the air, and fire, into into an acknowledgement for the city. So we started that conversation. So it's going to involve commissions to talk about it first, and then it's going to be brought back to this commission to really weigh in on the final product, I guess you could say. But what we wanted was to have maybe one or two commissioners from this group to be involved in that. We're going to involve the Water Commission, the Sustainability Commission, us, Indigenous Commission, Commission on Diversity Awareness. And I think one more other, I can't think of it right now, but there'll be some commissioners involved, and they're all going to send a representative to talk about how this is all going to mesh out. And our first talk was with the division directors from sustainability, from water, and then it was that one. But anyway, we met and we talked about it. So that was really cool. And a fire department, the fire. And we just really had a really good conversation about it. And I just wanted to bring that up to see what you all think about it and to see if this is a direction you'd like to go for the city.
So they wanted to rewrite it,
Yes.
basically, just to add a little bit more information.
Yes. We might have to redo the land part, but include water, air, and fire. And what I had presented and talked about, just to give an example of what it would mean to Indigenous people, is that, Earth, the land, Earth is our home, and that is where we gain all that we can eat and all the things that we have to live as far as nourishment, having that as our grounding. And then we have, of course, air that we need to breathe. And then we have, and how air is just really more than just something that's invisible. It's an energy that sustains us. And then water, how we just seem to we have a history of being wasteful as far as our country is concerned. And so we need to bring people to some sort of understanding that this is a life source that we just can't pollute or just take for granted anymore. And so it sustains who we are. It's like the earth, water is probably 70 to 80% of its being. There's water, just like we are. We're mostly water. in our physical being. And then, we talked about fire and like I said, fire is not just about bad fire. It's about good fire, how our ancestors used to use fire as a way to keep our forests healthy, keep our vegetation healthy. And those are some things that we need to bring back and talk about. But there's also personal fire. There's a fire within each of us in our being. We have a temperature, that's our fire. We talk about our ceremonial fires. We talk about the fire that burns at home for our family. So those are things that we all incorporate into what fire means to us. So anyway, I explained that part to them, and of course they're gonna, we're all gonna. That's the stuff downstairs. Yeah, they're doing they're reorganizing the whole HR downstairs. So anyway, I wanted to get your input, and then also, if you're wanting to be part of this group, I'd like to have at least 2 volunteers, and they can alternate. They won't have to be part of every meeting, but these are just the starting conversations. It'll probably take a while to really bring really good ideas and language together.
The land acknowledgement is something that's generally read, but by all commissions, right? Because I've heard it, right?
No,
Some or.
most commissions have adopted it, and most commissioners have put it on their agendas. But the city council reads it at every meeting.
I think that's what I was.
Yeah.
I've heard it. But it's just here, so.
I'll volunteer to be on there because water is really important to me. I mean, I take 8 minutes or less showers, and just bugs the heck out of me when people just waste it, and.
Or take showers every day.
Oh,
right?
God. And I just, we don't have enough water left, especially here. But, living up in Minnesota, there's Lake Superior, and people just, it's just wasteful. And how different it is in different regions of the country, how their perception of it, and because there's a body of water right nearby, people living on the coast, it's just so wasteful. And we had some friends that visited, and I told her to wash, she asked, I'll wash the dishes, she says. I said, okay. Oh my God, I had to teach her how to wash dishes. It was, I had to turn off the water, because she's like, what? I mean, she just running, and oh my gosh. I just turned it, I said, I'll do that. She goes, why? I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so upset. How much water was wasted, but that perception of it may not be that important to some people because of they're thinking that there's always going to be water. But the body of water that we have, the oceans, the lakes and all that, they're being polluted too, and for recreational purposes, like at Lake Powell, I mean, once they clean it up, there's bags of just trash that people get from that water. It's just, so yeah, I'm already out of here. But yeah, I don't know how my wording of to add to a land acknowledgement will do. But
I'll volunteer too.
I'll volunteer for that.
I just hauled 8 gallons of water back to Blood Mesa yesterday in my car.
Yeah,
Put them up.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think, so does everybody else agree that this is the direction we'd like to go?
Yeah.
So we were students.
Thank you. I think that I think just the enthusiasm from this group will really help with the rest of the commissioners, the commissions that we'd like to have be involved. Even Councilmember Matthew said, I really give me feedback on that specific agenda item. So I know she's really supportive, and the council right now, what we have, they're very supportive. Just want to put that out there. Wow, yeah. Cheryl, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. If we can get to you before lunch, and then we can talk about future recommendations to work on. So. Commissioner Lance is not crying, so.
Not yet.
You're so mad you cried.
I know.
There's another thing like that.
And then it makes you angry.
Well,
Yeah. You had to haul water and we didn't have electricity or anything when I grew up. So.
Yeah. It was all precious resources.
Buying water, it's 1 cent a gallon for community. 6 for non. And my mom was like, wow, 1 cent, that's really good. He's like, yeah, we have to haul 3,008 gallons of water. And he's like, multiply that by 1 cent, it's still pretty penny.
Wow.
Yeah, it's still a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
Wells, like I had a customer in Parks, 2 of them side by side, they drilled wells 2,200 feet deep. That's where water was, cost $250,000.
Yeah.
Everybody hauls water out there
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
super expensive. I mean, these people obviously, they got money, you know, and, yeah, it's just incredible amounts of money. And these people went half to get a discount to drill 2 wells side by side from the same company. It's just amazingly expensive, just crazy amount of what everybody else does is haul water, you know? 4 million each, just too much.
right. I mean, I don't like to haul water all the time, but hauling water reminds me of how precious it is. And it reminds me of how much I use on stuff. How much I use just to brush my teeth, you know,
Yeah.
just 1 little cup versus being here at home and being able to just turn on the faucet. Have 1 little cup just for my teeth.
Or leave the water on and brushing your teeth. Oh my gosh, it just bugs me.
Like that commercial.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mom having to say, save your water, whatever you rinse with, you rinse your, even if it's brushing your teeth, put it in this bucket. And then she'll go and, feed the peach tree or something, or the apple tree, She said, that's gonna give us fruits later. But
The new housing, we lived in Kansas, the IHS, housing facility, and those homes are solar. But to get hot water, it takes seriously, 5 to 10 minutes for it to get hot. And so people are just running the shower. So I'm over here with buckets, because since it's new housing, they planted new trees. So I would water the trees with that water.
Yeah.
Every day it was like that. And I complained about it, but I don't know how, I didn't realize that are all solar stuff like that, it just really bothered me that how much water is wasted just to wait for the hot water. And yeah, so these little things, I don't know what people think about it because they come from other parts of the country, to work there. They don't think about it. I don't know, so, but my place didn't go anywhere, so.
Can I just email them to you?
I always wonder about all the large corporations that get set up in Phoenix, like where are they getting their water?
Yeah.
The aquifers are pretty depleted down there.
And brushing your teeth, you don't need to rinse your mouth after you brush your teeth. You spit it out and that's it. You don't, because the fluoride is the main reason why you use toothpaste. And fluoride and water do not go well together. So you're not supposed to brush your rinse your mouth after you brush.
I heard that, I was talking about that one time, they're like, what, like, the argument is, do you rinse it or you don't? It's like, the toothpaste has stuff in it to keep your teeth clean, so why are you rinsing it out, getting rid of it? It's
The
just
fluoride works against the bacteria.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why. So
It's, I never.
that's why guys.
Our dental, our in-house dental.
Should have that toothbrushes.
Yeah.
Bamboo
I-
toothbrushes.
It's like boarding school. We all had to hold our hand out. We had toothpaste powder. We all had to stand.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's how old I am.
No, I remember that boarding school too.
Yeah. I don't know where the heck we kept our toothbrushes. Don't think about maybe we use somebody else. I don't know. We just brush our teeth. I have no clue.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for bringing that up. Those. I know there are other nations, because Craig and I, we have lived in other places in the country, and they have different land acknowledgements, and a lot of it has to do with their own environment, what they consider it to be sacred. And so it's interesting, how it varies in different parts of the country. It's true.
We move back to Commissioner Francis's presentation.
Yeah,
Trying to talk so you can.
I know.
So,
It's one.
just say, I'm ready.
You can probably send it as, because if it's a, if you send it a PDF, it'll go through faster. But if you send it as a. To get. So when I get it, then it has to sit there for it to be like sanitized from viruses.
Okay. Now to you.
So I have a colleague who's gonna pick up lunch for me. So he should be on his way back right now. So he should be here any minute. Or before 12.
One image of. Appropriate or not, but it's, get it?
Yeah.
It's one at, the church at O'Reilly, the background picture.
That's right.
We have like, a whole grandpa on our side too. Like at least 2 grandpas ago. I mean, they were talking about how, like Daryl's hair, he used to do his braid. It was all like white hair. And my mom said, I always wondered why, he didn't really talk that well. Because he was, talking this other language, she said.
So Rose and I are kind of from the same area. Arizona.
Okay.
And that area, there's a lot of there.
Yes.
The Hamas.
I'm gonna stop sharing on this one, okay?
was just up in Cortez.
Yeah. My dad, everybody moved there. I stayed in Shamrock when I started high school. I was 14. Shamrock. Dad, my siblings all moved to Cortez and they went to school there.
And where you went to boarding school?
No, I went to boarding school in Tees. Go Bears. She's not supposed to. Yeah.
My
6
mom.
years. They're 6 years.
My mom, they were at Flagstaff dormitory their senior year. My grandpa pulled. And
Mom went to Oklahoma.
they're not going to.
Video.
Downstairs.
My aunt's all went to Oklahoma.
Oh, I went to Oklahoma. Which one do you want me to show first?
All of them, whichever one you want. Oh, so that one right there has the church in the corner.
Okay.
I didn't show the whole church. I didn't know how appropriate that was.
Oh, that's pretty.
I could move mostly just on the landscape.
Yeah, I
without-
would say move more on the landscape than on the church. 'Cause just sits there. Really. I don't know, we don't think it's anymore. We don't think it's.
Okay, moved it out of the way. Mostly it's just gonna be landscape.
Okay. Brendan, you want the next one?
Yeah.
That's nice, I like that.
Looks like official coins, like that are in that.
The medallions.
All the
Yeah.
medallions. Looks like like a coin, like a, you know how they do the special gold mint coin?
How did I do this?
Really? Yeah. Where are they at? Are they,
So they were issued, to each of the tribes back in 2006 or 7 or something like that. Come on. And any of the tribes where there's, they were given out down in the governor's office. A lot of the other tribes got theirs from DC. Given to families. The actual, like co-doctors, was issued to them.
each got one?
Okay.
No. Can, would people know who he is, or do you want to put a name?
Maybe a name, like really, really small. Corners.
Will people know who he is?
No.
I took it.
Okay.
You don't see all of them, so it's not like you can tell who that is, can you?
So I was thinking, we were saying maybe an, either,
Yes.
closer to this.
Like a small caption with his name.
Yeah.
Small, like right next to his chin.
But he's not a photographer.
Oh, okay.
He's just Hopi.
Mm.
He works maintenance at Uncle B Legacy.
Oh, cool.
He was in one of my videos.
Okay, go to the next one.
There's space at the bottom. I don't know if we have a website. I don't know if we need a RSVP.
No, it's just open to the public.
You know, just put that at the bottom, open to the public.
You can still go to the city's website, right?
We can put,
The flyer.
yeah, we can put,
Ooh.
we can put like our logo, our commissioner logo. But,
Yeah.
you know, but usually that ends up on the, Yeah, some logos, we need to have some logos.
This looks really good.
You can, yeah, you can. One or two medallions take off,
Yeah,
just feature a couple of them, you pick it.
and maybe we can fit in our Flagstaff and our Indigenous Commission logos, just small ones. I don't know how small you can get.
Just send those to me and I can put them in.
Put it in a corner.
Yeah, just put it in the
What
corner.
medallions do you want on this one? Take off.
The one that really looks like they're code talking. Code.
They're all good.
What's the one in the middle? I can't read it.
Our Alaska Native people never get featured in anything twice.
So which one of this is Hopi?
The one on the top right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's Hopi and Navajo right up there.
That's big. Okay. And then this one is,
Rosebud Sioux or Senangu, how do you say that? Lakota.
and this one's Navajo, right?
Choctaw.
All right, which medallions do you want up here?
And you want just 3 or 2 or 1? Wait, you want 4? Hey, take off 1 then.
Oh, no.
Stick to 4 directions.
If you reorganized it to have the 4 directions and then 1 in the center.
Yeah.
Then that gives you room to put the other 2 logos at the bottom.
Each
City
particular one
and-
want to be on each direction.
Why don't you put them in the directions that they're,
Of where they are?
yeah. And then Hopi's in the center.
So Kobe's in the center.
I like how everyone looks at me when they say Hopi.
I was gonna see if there was a disagreement there.
I thought about how.
That's right.
I thought about how if I throw in that my dad's from Kobe side, but no. We all look at it.
That is so cool.
Okay, so I got Choctaw on the east, I've got Lakota on the north. South. Could be Navajo.
No,
There's
those are
Dakota's on
Glad to see that on there.
Yeah, that is
We're
cool.
looking at the whole.
Yeah.
US.
I like that they're all there, because it acknowledges it.
So since we're concentrating on Hopi for our agenda, you can put Hopi in the middle.
I always think of it that way. So I'll get those to you with the logos.
Should we go ahead and? Is there space for the time? That we can be too busy on the show?
No.
Um,
One of them has a time. Check out all of them. Like this one doesn't have the time, but I can put the time.
Yeah, just put 9 to, was it 2? 1,
One.
9 to 1. She's gonna talk so much.
All right, did you want, oh, are you putting the city website or RSVP or no?
No,
But open to the public?
but open to the public, yeah. And then we'll do our, we'll do a city logo and our Indigenous Mission logo.
Okay, and I don't have those, so.
Yeah, I'll send it. This is so cool. It's so good to see just the different ones that you have. Shirley is so talented.
She is though. Thank you, Shirley, for putting these together for us.
And she did this like probably in 5 minutes.
Busted. I'm sure we're on the commission.
Give her the one for
Oh,
Indigenous,
shoot. I want to
Indigenous,
just-
Indigenous Peoples Commission, see how much she goes. How fast she comes up. No.
Silly.
Very creative.
Really?
Okay, gang, it's done.
All right.
Okay, I just need those logos and then I'll send it to you and I guess Rose will send it back to everybody.
Yeah. That's good. All right, so our lunch should be here any minute, so we'll just break for now. And then we'll pick up the last item after lunch. Like,
Okay, we're gonna move on to discussion item C. Future recommendations to work on. Commission discussion on topics of interest or concerns to work on in the future. Commissioners to commit and lead some of these recommendations. Do you have anything to share for that?
no, I think there's room to really talk about what other projects you want to take on, or, there's things that we can work on as a commission, things that you feel, that you hear out in the community. How do we bring, some attention to that, so that we can, from here, what we do as a commission is advise and recommend things to the city council. So those are things that are part of our responsibility, or your responsibility. And all that comes, I'll lift that and give it to city manager, and he raises that up to council. Sometimes it's a direct line and sometimes it's not, but most times I have to, run it up the chain, and so it ends up on council at some point, talking to them. So just wanted to just know that there's this place that you can also voice some of those concerns as far as what you hear in the community.
I had one. Information, like, just knowing, so basically, this is probably too big for us to handle, but, with Arizona Daily Sun added the picture of Flagstaff, you got the news scanner, you got word of mouth, yes, the neighborhood next door app, like, just being able to tell people about news going on in Flagstaff, like, you just don't know, like, for example, Shirley didn't even know anything about the logo that they had on the website, social media and all that stuff, I think people just don't know anything of what's going on in the city. Just like general information, like, I don't know how we could even put something like that together, aside from opening up a new newspaper flags up, but it's really hard to get information out, and you really gotta be around certain people. You have to ask a certain question all the time just to hear news of what's going on.
Yeah, we're everything behind paywalls, right?
Yeah, that's it.
The Flag scanner and all of that.
And even Facebook, it's not paywall, but you have to be a member, and not everybody is a member of Facebook. So, and a lot of people don't want to get on like social media, like Twitter, and then with all of the politics that go on some of the social media sites, it's just a different way to be able to get real news information out to the public, especially like when the murder that we talked about, by the hospital, how that relates to like one of the screenings that we had of the missing and murdered Indigenous women, like being able to connect those two and give it to the community, and not just the Indigenous community, but like the entire city of Flagstaff. But just general information somehow.
So we had talked about doing a newsletter at some point, but that will only be like the activities of the commission. And the only problem that I had is not having the time to do that, because there's so many things going on internally, working on different things and being a part of different conversations. So that's another thing that, I mean, if that's still something that people want to do, then it would have to be something that the commission does. But you know, that was just a thought, but, we can always think about how else that could happen. So just as long as we put it out here on the table of things to work on.
Did anybody get on that police advisory commission or, advisory board from the commissioners there? Did you? Yeah. What is it about like that?
Shirley, right?
I don't even know. No one sent me any information. And I
But you
confirmed-
turned in an application,
I
right?
did, but doesn't mean that I was accepted.
I think you're accepted.
Yeah, they accepted all the applications.
How do you know?
Because he was at the meeting.
Oh, you're at the last meeting. Yeah. Okay. No, I don't know. So I guess so.
You know now, you're a part of it.
Do they do
Everybody
like-
knows.
Do they do like rolling admissions type of thing? Because I want to be a part of it, just I can't right now.
I think they have. Gerald, do you remember some of the bylaws information? Was it a 4-year term?
It's 3, no? Sorry. So, it's a long term.
3 years? Maybe it's 3.
Yeah.
It's not that long.
It's 3, but they said that they'll have meetings and it's still open for people to participate. It's up to the advisory board to kind of set those parameters how people will participate in those meetings. I think the way that it's encouraged, similar to how this one functions, so that if there's somebody who's not on the advisory board that wants to bring something forward, they bring it to the advisory board, the elected folks, or the folks that are selected, so that'd be like Shirley and myself, bring it to them, and then they present it during that time. When we have those meetings.
Yeah. But right now, it's just quarterly meetings.
Yeah.
What were some of the topics they were talking about that they bring to the board or, to the advisory board? Did they mention?
So, as far as what police chief is asking for is, there'll be, trainings, policy changes, and events or things that happen that he needs advice or direction from the advisory board. I guess an example, which is something that we're focusing on right now because it's already pretty much resolved, but if there was an incident where an officer and a citizen had an altercation and the police, there had to be a suspension or there had to be kind of like a timeout for that officer to be able to resolve, like, look at all the evidence. If there were cultural or specific things that happened in a community, if it was like a Native American person, for example, then those kinds of things could be addressed. You bring it up and say, okay, what are some of the things that I need to be aware of, to have an understanding of when, and share that with, the rest of the department, or share that within, that leadership, so that the correct changes could take place. Makes sense?
Yeah, so the incidents could be anything, anything from, but it really, really is in the lane of law enforcement with the city police department. So whatever happens, they want to be more transparent. Like if somebody passes away from exposure or goes missing, he wants a body to report to and say, these are the kinds of assistance the police department needs because this is an Indigenous person who is in this situation, or just things like that. That's just an example. Or, what can be done with this kind of situation where maybe there might be some cultural issues that we need to know about or that we can help with. So it would vary on a lot of levels.
There's some statistics they were just quoting, like so much Native American and thing. That's why he was interested.
No, I think that The advisory boards are cross-cultural, so there's gonna be one for Hispanics in the community, Spanish-speaking communities, and then there's also one for African diaspora group within the community, still organizing some of those bodies, but we felt like the Indigenous one was really important.
So yeah, he's the one, that's the one he concentrated on the first to do. And the first meeting was really about going through the bylaws and what he expects the people to be on that advisory board. And he said, I just don't want to have meetings. I want this to be an action board. So that's one of the main things, so. That I remember. Yes, so he said, Daryl's full of action, so.
Did it specifically mention it?
So, but those are kinds of information that that the group will have access to is the stats and things on a more regular basis, I guess. That's what I think.
Also plays into information for the public. You know, like certain things that are going on. It's like if multiple incidences to different Indigenous people happen, we're not gonna know that at all. So nobody's gonna be able to say anything about it, you know, to speak out against it. Unless you're the advisory board now. So at least there's a little, but need more information to the public. So that and I'm just saying that just feeds into the whole non-information category.
I don't disagree with Commissioner Hosky, but I do think when we're thinking about information being shared, what that looks like and what it looks like for commissioners. So like the City of Logo project, from my experience, a lot of people knew about it. So many people that I was getting text messages on my phones from people, negative ones about my part in the commission and for the City Logo project. And that's because it was public information. So just being transparent that that's the position it puts us all in when we're open that way. And luckily, I knew some of those folks or that person, and it didn't bother me that much, and I'm pretty good to handle those things. But for like everybody on the commission and how they feel about being able to get a text message when you're on a Saturday afternoon with your family about negative things for your part in a logo project, it's I think people have different feelings about it, I imagine.
So far I have information, and then there's the question on who's part of the PD advisory board. So that person or the people who are on that advisory board will be, one of their responsibilities probably to inform the commission on what's going on, so that you all can inform your circles. That's how, it's supposed to work. Anybody, anything else?
Some items that we went over, they like the open spaces, the future canyon signage. They were supposed to be like a draft.
So you need somebody to report back on that?
I'm just curious as to what the process is on that. Should we get in touch with Sylvia?
So do you want information back for the commission, or do you want?
I mean, it would be good to know like what the outcome of stuff that stuff that we discussed.
I'll get in touch with Sylvia and ask if she'd be willing to update on the outcome. Oh, excuse me. You have anything, Daryl?
I was just thinking, is the commission aware or understand what the status or state of use for the Indigenous Community Cultural Center looks like yet? Okay, so hopefully, if you can attend the event this Saturday from 10 to 2, you'll be able to get a better sense of where things are at as far as the organizing bodies is concerned with the space. But from what we understand, and I'm not sure how much we can share just yet, so I'm looking to Rose to shush me if I'm saying too much. But that there was a process started last fall for the city to find a partner in developing guidelines and procedures to be able to find a partner for the use of the old Public Works building for the purpose of it being the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. That partnership was identified, the kind of framework was somewhat organized. I shouldn't say somewhat, has been organized. And the partner has been identified. Am I correct in saying that, or?
Well, legally, I think we're a little bit before the partnership.
Okay, so the RFP process is still in, so there hasn't been a partner identified, but there has been.
Well, let me
Yes.
explain that a little bit.
Please.
So the city put on a RSOQ, put out there for Indigenous nonprofits to apply, stating their qualifications for to be, I guess, to do programming and things like that for the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. So that's one piece. The other piece is that also will require the person identify or the organization identified to help raise money with the city, along with the city, to refurbish and to refurbish the building is really the big cost. So that's one of the reasons why it took a lengthy amount of time is because internally, there were trying to identify which path would be the best to do regarding the Indigenous Community Cultural Center, because there's nothing in the past that the city has had as this kind of situation. Whereas like the Murdoch Center or Theatricals, or even the new one out there on Sunnyside.
Market of Dreams.
Oh gosh, the one for sciences. No, I can't remember the name of it right now. But anyway, all of them were already refurbished. Buildings were ready for a tenant or a leasee to move in, which is not the case in this one. So there was some legal things that needed to be researched before moving forward with identifying somebody. And so now that the city has figured that out, the next step is an organization has been identified and we'll be talking about what these responsibilities will be. So
It's a firehouse. That's what you're talking about.
yeah, the old firehouse, Miltavo.
Yeah.
So the partner for this Indigenous Cultural Center, partner is gonna be what, like, what, they gonna take over the space, or they gonna be leading the space, or?
That's what
Like,
the conversation is going to be about, well, which we haven't had yet. I think we have it scheduled for the next couple of weeks at least. In a couple of weeks, July.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Felt like it was mid-July.
Already. I know.
I feel like I just like
We love teasing you.
That's a good thing.
So that's where it's at right now. And Amy, who oversees parks, Amy Hagan, and I will update city council coming up shortly to, about all the information that we have so far. So our group, which is several leadership within the city, plus myself, and, some, one person from procurement was the one who sort of had to mold this thing through the Indigenous Community Cultural Center. And it was really Amy who was, because her background is construction. And she really knows a lot about what it entails. And so she's been spearheading most of it. So that's where that's at. And you were, so yeah, so ICF is gonna be having this, event on Saturday.
And it's just a gathering to help talk about the space, talk about the importance of the space, and then
Connecting with it.
connecting with community and public visioning, whatever that looks like for the community, so.
Awesome. And just the background is that ICF has been the driving force behind having an Indigenous Community Cultural Center. In the last few years, since 2016.
Wow.
There were others before that
Yeah.
that have tried to push for something like that. But it didn't always work out, or the vision wasn't there.
They didn't have their own marks.
There's at least a 45-year history. The possible development of the cultural center in Flagstaff. There's like 3 field attempts.
You said 10 to 2, right?
10 to 2, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Update there, also, not at the same time, except for the one of them is the, Burdock Center is having a parade with their Juneteenth activities around the same time. And then the,
There's a lot going on.
Noon to
Oh,
4,
wow.
and then
is it 10 to 4?
noon to 4. I know that we're giving away bikes from noon to 2, that's fine. Community assistance team at Flagstaff is giving away bikes on it.
You said something about youth.
10 to 4.
Youth.
Yeah, the kids' bikes.
No. You said something about this is, the ICCC is for youth.
There's a youth component, they have like
Oh, okay.
little print or black and white pictures of the structure that kids can color in or draw their own, like whatever they want added to it.
Oh, okay.
So it's just, like I said, public visioning. I think that helps. The way that was organized, it helps the mayor's grant.
Mayor's gonna be there around noon time to do a little
Sing,
something.
sing and dance.
She's gonna-
The flyer is on social media, but what is it under? I've seen it floating around a few different pages.
It should be on Flag
On Flag?
365.
Yeah. Mayor just shared it out sound too.
I just really wanted to have the agenda that I can blast out, but I. Yeah.
Finalizing that today, according to Travis. So I can pick on that. So.
Anything else that we want to concentrate on for the future?
I don't have any specific ideas right now, but I think it would be cool for us to coordinate something outside of Indigenous Peoples' Day and Indigenous Code Talkers Day to tell people what it is we do. A lot of people know this commission exists. I have other opinions about that, but the Indigenous Commission, I know, we could maybe figure out some way, like to Commissioner Hosky's point, to convey the message to the community that we're here and we advocate, and there is a voice for Indigenous communities, even if it feels a bit unheard. I'm just unsure of how we would facilitate that, and if that means a separate event or what that means, because there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions on important issues here that don't ever attend public comment or come and share it with us.
Oh, yeah.
How do we advocate that there is a space, there is an actual space on our agenda for people to come and, you know, share their concerns with us or ideas or anything like that? I think a lot of people don't even know that we're the ones that coordinate a majority of, well, we coordinate Indigenous Peoples' Day and Indigenous Code Talkers Day. The city, we're under the city, this group of people in this room that works it and shows up the day of.
There's like, not just on Kotaga Day or Indigenous Peoples' Day, even on those days, we could create like some sort of a, you know, our commission meeting is gonna be, you know, like next month, you know, here's a flyer or whatever. You know, just a little something to,
Oh, I see.
that they could like, they know it's gonna be at this time, they can see it and they can tell somebody else, you know, something like a little something like that. Like, I don't know exactly what, but
November's a good,
Yeah.
you know, Native American Heritage Month. The whole month.
Yeah.
We
Could be a-
coordinate,
yeah.
we collaborate between various organizations, you know, and AU and city, and county, and you know, we try to convey each of the organization's mission. Recruiting is, you know,
Come meet your Indigenous
Yeah.
commissioners.
I like that. I think it really needs a lot of coordination because.
Yeah.
I tried to do that the first year with Native American Heritage Month, to try to have, not to be in each other's time frames. I tried to have, maybe like, just for an example, maybe NAU takes the first week, maybe, the city takes the second week and the county takes the third week and stuff like that.
Naka takes
And,
one.
yeah, and then it takes something in between, you know, like, but it didn't really work because for a lot of different reasons. And maybe it's a good thing to try again, I don't know. So we're, as far as the commission is concerned, we don't really do a Native American Heritage Month event that we all work on. Usually I put in something like a speaker for one day at lunchtime or something like that. But it's not something that we work on like for months to get it done, to get it happen, get it set up.
is it possible to like together like a survey to get like feelers out there, kind of like
Sorry, I was trying to picture like what it looks like.
but like, you know,
I'm sorry. It was to me, I can't control my face. And I was like, surveys. I just think
to
of all
like,
the people.
to something like how to give a voice to Indigenous peoples, you know, like, we have like this meeting, we have, of course, all those other events that go on around that time, but maybe like input from Indigenous peoples on how we could better fight for their voices, kind of thing.
I think that's I think, I'm sorry, are you?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's something that ICF is really trying to do as part of their, like, giving voice to Indigenous community members. And I know that they've talked about doing something like that, like a survey or some sort of something to community members on how they receive their communication and what would be best for them, that kind of stuff. So, and then also what kinds of programming we would like to see in the future for the Indigenous Community Culture Center. Those are some things that I know that ICF had been, doing, um, since its formation.
Yeah.
Do you want to add to that? or-
Sure. The Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff started a lot around Indigenous Peoples' Day and the city and that proclamation, but to organize around it, there were socially focused topics that brought people together, say around like youth education, elders in healthcare, and so on and so forth. Those forums ran through a series, and then this circle itself tried to conduct additional forums around key topics that were still, a high conversation within the community. There's been discussion with Rosa sharing to host those kinds of forums again. So maybe identifying a way to either with the commission and the circle, maybe coming together and hosting an event, or finding one that volleys off one another. So like we let them host their event and then create a survey that can go there to say, okay, what kind of events and activities should we be doing? One of the things that, as you're all sharing and talking, that I wanted to suggest is to try to not necessarily completely break away from a Western way of organizing and communicating with our community, but looking at our own cultural identity and finding a way to host something or come together that's not specifically around a celebratory day, like Indigenous Peoples' Day, Kotaker Day, but just having a community gathering that we have the opportunity to do a meet and greet, to hear from the community about what are some of the topics of their concern or the things that they want to celebrate or highlight, that we could either organize through the commission meetings or share that with another organization like the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff or NACA or someone else to take on the task or the responsibility of that, because the commission can only do so much. I know that, right?
Yep.
And when we think about a ceremonial event in our own communities, we don't always rely on that one family to do everything. We try to lean on other families to help participate. And if we think of our commission as a family, you think of NACA, the
iPad?
yes, as a family, how are we pulling those relational ties together? How are we connecting with one another and building this coalition of dialogue between these different groups, so that the commission doesn't have to feel like we're the only ones doing it, or the IPAC has to feel that way, or you know what I'm saying? So I think that like the idea of putting a newsletter and everything, it sounds great to us, but that's more of a Western way of thinking, because it's not going to reach everybody. But if we have these gatherings and we share this relationship, relate this responsibility with our other relatives, these other groups, that maybe we're getting more information out to everybody about what's happening and who's kind of holding the ball for that responsibility of whatever that looks like. But that's just a suggestion.
I 100% agree. When I mentioned a separate of November sounds great, of course, for Native American Heritage Month, but I was like any day, really, outside of Indigenous Kotakers Day or Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Yeah, I think we should need to do something in the spring.
Yeah.
Because
My favorite.
we have, or I have anyway, working on like 3 events and maybe 4 now. And then there's probably 2 more being added. And so I might have like 5 of them in the fall. And so it's really a lot. So one of the things that I think, Shirley, can I put it on the spot? Yeah. Okay. One of the things that we'd like to do is that we've been planning and talking about is to have an educational forum or an educational summit or something regarding harassment, stalking, um, in Indigenous communities. And, and what that looks like, especially, you know, like, social media, internet, phone, texting, those kinds of things, and harassment in those mediums. And how, how can we protect our people, that are going through some of those things before they become statistics for, murdered and missing Indigenous people, relatives. So, do you want to add anything more to that?
I think, so the focus of this discussion is more on the prevention aspect, awareness aspect, not so much focusing on when the thing happens afterwards. We're always, that's what MIW is, it's the after impact. Why don't we start thinking about those prevention elements before something happens? So this discussion of how do we do this and who do we partner with? Who are those subject matter experts that either are the victims, have been experienced these issues, be that voice or community members. The biggest thing that we're finding out is people don't report a lot of what happens to them for various reasons. Embarrassment, humiliation, just everything that goes with it. So a lot of crimes, you know, not reported. And then that relationship with the process of even reporting law enforcement. Who do you go to? There's no checklist available on what happens in this regard. And I think that leaves a huge gap in the system. You know, there's many gaps in the system, but for people that need to know what to do immediately and who can they go to that will actually provide support or a direction, it lacks. And in Flagstaff, it's very much real. It lacks that support. And we're not just talking about the circumference of Flagstaff, Copano County, but the jurisdictions on all the reservations that come to Flagstaff as a border town. And how do we, and I think that's where the advisory, police chief's advisory board is also learning how those jurisdictions complicate a lot of things, providing those types of services, people that need help. And I definitely agree with, if this is a subject that this group can help bring awareness to also and support, you know, that's what we're going to try to do, is have this be one of those things. It's definitely not a celebration, but it's definitely an education and importance. We kind of talked about avenues of using this for continuing education. That's a whole nother gamut to try to accomplish. We've talked with experts in that regard. And all of this is something that, and came up recently, was everyone's kind of always, you know, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what you're saying and which direction we want to go into this. There's always a lot of these chefs in the kitchen. But speaking with Rose and connecting with those right individuals, that this is their area of expertise. That's who we're trying to partner with and work with to bring a larger awareness to and work with, since they've been around the system. I don't mean to be vague, but as much as I can, that's what I want to share.
It's still very much in the planning stage, but we're just happy that we have some really good leadership support.
Right. It's it's really difficult because some people have maybe dealt with those same leaders and they have not felt support. Did not. We all kind of experience that when we're coming into this environment of Flagstaff. But it still needs to happen because it's still happening. And how do we help those individuals that don't have the voice?
It's probably a tangent off of that, but but Chief Conley had anything about the turquoise alert bill and stuff. Is it gonna be,
So
Yeah.
that just bill just happened.
yeah,
And so there's quite a few things that just happened. Even our first lady of this country had a bill, take it down bill. That's the big thing. These types of things are, yes, are things to talk about, to share that information. And I think the topics we talked about was including a detective, including law enforcement. What do you do in these cases and where do you go? There's this victim services around this community and in the county. Um, and really expressing the story of the people that actually had to go through it. That's the biggest part. To try to help, if anybody is going through this, what are their what are their
Where do they turn?
where do they turn and what are their what laws help protect them? And a lot of people, don't really know. It's really, again, these topics, anybody could be going through it right now, but they just don't want to share it for those specific private reasons. And it's hard. These are hard things to kind of share, but it's way overdue. And this from an experience I've seen so there, just in this county alone. I can't believe it. My eyes are just wow. And that they let things go when they shouldn't. So it's tough to try to face that.
and a lot of those laws, on the reservations, doesn't apply to non-native. What happens on rest, and then some you get seriously arrested, dismissed when it happens off the rest, because you're hitting a white person against a native person. I mean, that's always been the case. So I hope that this gap is getting closer and closer together. This is what the whole point of it is with the turquoise bill, also, or with alert bill, also, um, I know that under Biden, there was somebody set aside for that, but I don't know where that's going now.
And
With this administration.
So the jurisdiction, especially for speaking, this is about violence against women. In 2012, when Congress repassed that bill, they did cover that if a non-native harms somebody on the reservation, there is something that gets done about them there.
Yeah.
But off the reservation, if a native is harmed, you don't get the protection of your tribe. And that's where it gets complicated.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just dismissed or it's not.
And those are the
taken
words,
seriously. Yeah.
words that a lot of people face, being dismissed. So, I think that's kind of a good.
Thank you, thank you.
There's also the Orange Day formal, and this is, it's in September that we have it. I wear orange on that day.
Boarding school, right?
Residential schools that started in Canada, and it's coming, it's in the US now, boarding school. So, that's what all of the different thinking of no child left behind type of thing, but every child matters. That's where it comes from as well. That's also something that we could. I do want to think of that.
But it's even just as simple as doing a flyer and putting it on social media. Yeah,
It's
wear
like-
orange and then say fly.
Yeah, and like for May, because we're Indigenous, all relatives, women, that's, you wear red, May 5th, and then people are always like, oh, that's where Cinco de Mayo comes, and then they start making fun of it. Because of that, because of all the drinking that takes place. So, it's a very negative thing, but I feel like we can make a turn with that in our own communities, for May 5th. And then you wear red.
And we don't like Cinco de Mayo either,
No,
so.
and it's not,
Yeah.
if people don't know the history of that. That was, that's September, it's not May. You know, they don't know Mexican independence, all this kind of, they don't know the history. They just know what Taco Bell tells them.
No, they just see, they hear Cinco de Mayo and they think of it as a drinking holiday.
It is.
They like St. Patrick's Day is a drinking holiday. When Irish people actually, they have their own real traditions.
There's a different story between, behind. There's a real story behind the modern, prediction.
I've never actually put those two together, Cinco de Mayo and missing murder. But I don't know. Yeah, I've never- Yeah.
Yeah, and missing and murdered Indigenous women, they chose that day, and I don't know why they chose that particular day, knowing that it is Cinco de Mayo, that people know about. But Columbus Day, we don't recognize that we do that as Indigenous Day,
It's
people
probably
stay to-
because I don't see Cinco de Mayo in any real.
Yeah.
It's like a holiday that I don't, do because it's not my culture, but I know it's there, I guess. That's probably why.
Yeah. Same thing with Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's how I know about it. Anyway, yeah. I think it's a lot of
I'm
it
after
is just,
Commissioner Marks.
because a lot of it is just because we need to change the thinking behind those days that Western colonizers have used to celebrate whatever they think it is important to them, whereas we look at it differently. I think that's kind of the thinking behind this, is to have our own narrative of our own history.
So like for Thanksgiving, it could be a day of, a day of, yeah.
Naka calls it Family Day, then they take those 2 days off or something like that.
Yeah, what they did, I think they work on, they switched the days for Columbus Day to that day so they had that extra day for Thanksgiving and not do Columbus Day.
Yeah, that's not how foundation does that. They changed.
Well, I was really happy and surprised that Napa Mission observes Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's awesome.
I feel like we should celebrate tree.
Yeah.
Last year, Napa Nation made a big day of that tree day. I don't think they did anything this year. I don't remember seeing anything for it.
I think they did it on the weekend.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was June 1st. Yeah,
probably why I missed it.
they had the treaty, the original treaty on display at the museum.
They still do?
They did.
Okay.
I know I read something in Winter Rock.
I saw that. I stood in that long line to go in and see it.
Yeah, that's. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I saw Commissioner Marks.
Yeah.
You first then.
I'm after him.
Just the city.
Just wait for chair to call in.
Commissioner Mark. Just wanted to see where we're at with the discussion around the community powwow. The city wanted to try to get back into the business of that.
Community powwow. That's another thing that we need to,
There are a lot of young people who've been
Like-
trained and conditioned.
like powwow Jay.
Yeah, they're all ready to jump in.
Yeah.
How ridiculous.
So, the status is that I asked for additional funds to do a community powwow. Just like we used to do way back when, in like 4th of July, way back when, but we just want to, have it be run by Indigenous people. And there's pros and cons to that, and everybody has their own personal opinions. But we have a lot of young people who are a part of the powwow world, and it's also a great way to share multicultural type things within our Indigenous communities, where it's more intertribal, I guess you could say, where it's easier to talk about some of those things versus our own Indigenous personal ceremonies. So I guess in that way, it might be like better. It's a better way of maybe communicating some cultural that is more out there in this, as far as part of socializing. So anyway, that's so anyway, I asked for additional funds and the budget team approved it, but it still has to pass city council.
Where did this be held? Was it the one at NAU?
No, it's the one that was over here at Fort Park.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I went to that other one at high school for last month. No. That's a different one.
There's a high school.
That's the schools, okay. And I really, because I went there years ago, where the vendors were like stacked around the outside of the dancing circle. Now they have a separate room for that, which is so much better. Yeah,
Because sometimes people just want to shop.
yeah, but you'll have to pay to go into the vendors, but you pay to go into the powwow. But the people in the vendors opened the door to where you could sneak in. So a lot of people were doing that to go into the dancing area.
No, you know,
They're making the money. It's the kids. They're the ones making money. I went through there, through the vendors. I just following people. But then I went straight back to the entrance and paid, then came back again.
You're talking about Coco.
Huh?
The Coconino High School one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't run that one.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I mean, I think they lost a lot of money with that, but anyway.
Yeah, I went over, helped them kind of move things around later, but
it's too late.
it's still, so.
And the food was outside, people buying food, it was just like, just two of them, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I suggest having some tables out there in that lobby for the food, because, I mean, sometimes it's really hard to go into the, where the powwow is and carry the food and walk up the bleachers and all that stuff. So,
At Coco, they had the orchestra play that same day. Concert, so right next was the concert, and then right next to that was the powwow. And so you had a whole influx of different people coming. It's really interesting. Yeah, people with their violins. And there goes a powwow.
that would have been a great picture.
So crazy.
It's like, really?
Stimulation.
I sent you the email.
It was sharing.
Rose, I sent you the email with the final flyer if you wanted to see it.
Okay.
Other than that.
So community power, that's where it's at. And as soon as, well, in June, sometimes in June, the council will pass the budget. So what happens usually is council will look at the budget and say, we want to change this, we want to change that, we want to change that, we want to add this, we want to add this. So there's a big old thing that goes on. And then the staff goes back and reformulate everything on the budget, and then it's ready to be passed. Or sometimes, they might just pass it the same day. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but usually in June is when it's approved. All right.
I had noticed that the, I don't know if it's the Hotel and Tourism Commission or if that's what it's called or something like that. And please correct me if I'm wrong. It could have been a different community group here in town under the city or the county. But they had some of their commissioners attend the Arizona Governor's Conference on Tourism to learn and engage and all of that and bring back to their group. And it would be kind of cool if the Indigenous Commission did a field trip or something, maybe for Arizona's Indian Nations Day over on the state capitol in January or some kind of conference. I know you have to go through different, well, really lines of red tape for that kind of budget and things like that, but it would be interesting and I think really beneficial for our group to be able to attend events that way and show us as more of a cohesive unit and learn together and bring ideas back.
Three people or less than four?
Yeah, it's up to 3 people, but it's really hard to cover someone outside the organization to go on a travel, to go on outside of town. The government is just very a stickler. So unless we get a sponsorship, then that could be something to do.
It looks right to him.
They
They know where to go.
Daryl has a bunch of some money.
If we paid for ourselves to go and represent the IC, that word?
We would just need to vote on it, saying that some certain people will be attending a conference and they'll be representing the Indigenous Commission so that you are. But if you do on your own, then you're just, you also be just on individual person.
There's an Indian Nations Day, as far as I know, I don't know if anybody went to the last one, but it's free, so you just cover your own travel. I went a couple of years ago and got to do some learning, which was cool.
I'm gonna share. That's what it looks like now.
Yay! Yay! It's beautiful.
Awesome. How good put Mountain Standard Time.
Oh, I'm glad you put that
Yeah.
down. Even then, some people say, what's Mountain Standard Time?
I know.
It's Arizona time.
My husband works in Tuba, so it's always like, is it Tuba time or flag time? We're always- There's 3 different clocks in my house. Flag.
I thought it was, is it one? I thought it was 2. So on.
Ew.
Mariah,
Yes.
isn't it to 2?
No, I think we said till one. Oh, wait, yeah.
I think it's 2, and then
Me too.
we have cleanup till 3.
Let me double
Or
check.
something like.
Let me check because I might have said till 3 just because it takes a while to wrap up.
No.
I thought it was at 2.
No, we said 9 to 1. Breakdown is at 1 o'clock. And then I have breakdown taking about 2 hours because I remember hanging out till like 3 p.m. when we did it from 9 to 1. So 9 to 1.
But we have, with all the people that we're gonna have, do you think that's enough time?
It's cool.
I know it's clean, but,
Because we're
I'm
gonna
just
have
looking at
like,
the end directly above the coin. That's the way to say.
we're gonna have with the prayer.
We've done it 9, we did it 9 to 1 last year.
I think we only had 1 speaker though, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, this time, and no dancer, well, just the ending song.
Final agenda.
I think we should safely say 2.
2 o'clock, how does everybody feel about 2
Because
o'clock?
we're renting the whole place for the whole day.
Yeah.
Oh, no, like the wheels.
Well, if everybody's down, we can do 2 p.m. I've got that whole day blocked off, so if we want things to go until 2.
Because,
When is lunch? 12 to 1?
yeah.
And then-
12 to 1. And then 1 to 2 would be.
Well, the last agenda said light lunch to follow after after the event, which is why it was 9 to 1.
Oh.
So that's, that's the time we were sticking with for this one, because that's how it was hosted last year,
Breakfast is at 9. and
Yeah.
lunch is right at 12.
right at 12 or 1.
Some food right there.
At 1.
It's a lot of food, yeah.
Let's see.
3 hours a time.
All right, I got the final agenda for 2024. So last year, it was from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we started with the MC, the posting of colors. We had an opening prayer, land acknowledgement, welcome message, and code talkers acknowledgements, the keynote address. We did a song and closing prayer, honor baskets presentation, and then it says refreshments and drinks will be available, light lunch to follow the event.
So if we ended at 1 and then lunch, which will make it till maybe 2. And then after that is cleanup.
And so people just hung out. I mean, we can say lunch from 1 to 2 if we want, but we just closed out the event at 1 o'clock and then people stayed and sat around and ate food till about 1:30, 1:45, and then we cleaned up and we were out of there, I think, by like 3-ish.
All right, well, let's just leave it then.
Do we have to have breakfast?
Full cup.
Shoot, yes.
Yeah.
So this is just to save the date. Is there gonna be another one coming out, like an actual agenda one?
This was like the,
Oh, this is it, Shirley.
This is just the same thing.
Yeah. No, we'll have an actual agenda and we will include that breakfast stuff will be on the agenda because people probably will come if we put down food. and
But
provide
the
it.
breakfast is gonna be kind of light though, right? It's not gonna have this whole spread like.
I mean, it'll be
like
burritos and,
just a burrito and.
yeah,
coffee.
burritos and coffee. I don't
And
know
maybe
if that's
orange
like.
juice.
Like a full meal? Are they spam burritos? Spam burritos,
I'm
bacon?
eating.
Any spam?
No,
I don't think.
I like this. This is great.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I really like that sun. It's like the 6th point up there. It's just golden. That is so awesome.
Now remember, I didn't do this today.
You did it in like 5 minutes. So efficient. All right. I'll stop sharing.
It's 2 items here.
Are we, is there everything, is that everything we want? A field trip, can you send more information on that when you, like,
On the
maybe,
event?
maybe other ideas for like conference?
Oh, okay, cool.
Attending conference or
Got it.
whatever?
Yes, ma'am.
If other people have ideas, maybe just send those so that in case your work is able to let you travel on their dime, that might be a good thing to do. Yes, so maybe we can have a list or something that people can choose from.
That's what Darren was saying, though, if we go to the events, is it subject to only 3 or 4 of us to go? Because of the quorum before.
No, that's if we're like meeting, like doing actual meetings, then it's only limited to 3 if we're like on doing a work group.
Okay.
But if we're attending a conference or an event, then all I have to do is, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. Then all I need to do is post a possible quorum for the public. But we just don't talk any business.
But we can mingle together.
We can mingle and talk about, but not just no city business or commission business.
Are there specific conferences that you're thinking that we could?
No, but if you have ideas that might work for our group, send it and then we'll have a list going so that maybe you all can choose or whatever. But the expense is the only thing I really don't think I can cover.
Something at a casino, you know.
Yeah.
Like that.
Buenaros does have a lot of conferences that are going on out there.
I went to the Navajo Nation Economic Summit there.
Wow.
That sounds cool.
Interesting, I wish.
All right. Oh, yes. Oh, okay, I think we're running out of time, so this gives us some good ideas. And maybe if you have any more, we can add some more, and then somehow maybe prioritize it and pick on some couple of things to work on for the spring.
All right. Can we then revise again, refresh ourselves before we go? This year, the remaining months of this 2025, we have in August, the Co-Talkers Day, September, there's all these other things going on. Orange Shirt Day.
Oh, Indigenous Health Fair coordinated by me in North Country. You guys should come.
That was the big, Virginia was talking about. That's what I was looking for. Possibly ours.
Yeah, possibly ours, and then I have a Navajo Nation human rights.
Human rights at the beginning of the month. And then October is Indigenous Peoples' Day. And November is.
Native American Heritage Month.
What are we doing for that month?
I just usually do a speaker.
You did the screening, right? This last one? Was that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did the screening and, but if we don't have any plan, then I just usually ask a speaker to be in on the county calendar, as part of the lunch and learn.
Okay. Then December.
No, nothing's happening.
Yeah, no, please.
We have-
And then
Oh, we usually have our potluck,
We usually
right?
have a potluck or something in Christmas. December.
Isn't it towards the end of the, that those of us that are on the commission